refund. TimeshareExitTeam.com. Get out now at TimeshareExitTeam.com. 5:04 and a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
The battle for the Republican nomination is racing towards the convention this summer in Cleveland.
Nobody is going to have enough delegates. We are going to go to a convention. It's going to be open.
Can Trump be stopped?
The only campaign that has beaten Donald Trump and the only campaign that can beat Donald Trump is this campaign.
Will there be a third-party run?
Donald Trump is a phony, a fraud.
What happens next?
We should make it pretty easily based on what I'm seeing.
Happens here.
So we won't have to worry about fighting at a convention.
This is AM 560. The Answer.
There are two kinds of pain. Pain that goes away and the worst kind, chronic pain. If you suffer from chronic pain, life is not complete and it can be miserable. Unfortunately, most people use narcotics that mask the pain. You need to find the source of the chronic pain and get relief.
This is Dr. Ken Candido of Chicago Anesthesia Pain Specialists. We're serious players in the management of pain, and our team are national leaders as well as being educators in the treatment of pain. We will work with you to diminish or eliminate your pain and help you get your life back. You know, there's a nationwide narcotics epidemic, and people are too quick to mask over chronic pain instead of looking for the cause and treating or eliminating the pain. Contact us. We will help you.
Go to mypainchicago.com. Call and make an appointment with some of the best pain people in the nation, located here in Chicago. mypainchicago.com. You or someone you know suffers in the suffering of chronic pain. mypainchicago.com. Let's make you pain-free.
5:06. Time to check the climate of your business with aircomfort.com. 80 years of quality mechanical solutions for your business. And time to check the roads this morning in our Guardian Security Services Traffic Center. The latest this morning with Jim Talamonte. Good morning, Jim.
Good morning, Mike. Despite the rain and fog, the flight boards at Chicago's airport show almost no delays right now. You'll have plenty of congestion in the city with the NFL draft starting up this afternoon. As of now, there are no new closures. There will be later. The only closures for now remain Columbus, Congress, and westbound Balbo around Grant Park. You'll also have Cubs traffic on the north side this afternoon, the matinee against the Brewers. Right now, traffic is moving pretty well despite the conditions. There's still some overnight road work on the outbound Rod and the outbound Bishop Ford Freeway. Otherwise, the overnight roadwork is gone. Things look good on the area expressways and tollways, except for the ongoing construction delays on the Indiana Toll Road in Porter and LaPorte counties. Traffic is a service of CiCi's Pizza. Ready for an adventure and flavor? CiCi's brings 3 new flatbread pizzas to the Unlimited Buffet. Try the new Spinach Alfredo, Chicken Bacon Club, and Honey Barbecue Chicken. More flavor to explore for the same great value. Just $5 and change. Only at CiCi's. Better. Believe it. Traffic answers when you need them most. Jim Talamonte on AM 560, The Answer.
Chicago's Morning Answer starts next. Your official Chicagoland weather forecast. From the aircomfort.com Weather Center, here is our meteorologist, Kevin Snyder.
A breezy day with gusts up to 30 miles per hour. Occasional rain and drizzle with a high 49. Spotty drizzle for the evening, otherwise cloudy tonight with a low of 40. A cloudy morning with clouds and sun in the afternoon tomorrow with a high of 54 and a low 42. I'm Kevin Snyder on AM 560, The Answer.
Currently 43 at O'Hare, 44 along Chicago's lakefront. Your next news update is at 5:30. And Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy starts now on AM 560, The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Real Estate Revealed with Randy Barcella. Heard each and every Sunday at 8 a.m. on AM 560, The Answer.
Good morning. Welcome to your Thursday morning briefing. Here's what you need to know to start your day.
Today, I'm very proud and very humbled and honored to announce that I have accepted Senator Ted Cruz's offer to be his vice president for the Republican nomination.
America First will be the major and overriding theme of my administration.
This speech, I thought he hit it out of the ballpark.
I wish Mr. Hastert had been called on the carpet in 1968, and we'd all be better for it. This is imperfect, but it's what we got.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560, The Answer.
Good morning, Dan and Amy. Well, we had quite the Wednesday in the news business yesterday. We've got the big stories all morning. Carly, Trump, Denny. So why don't we start with Carly?
Carly and Ted, or Bobby and Trump?
Let's Carly. I would say the question is, can Carly keep Cruz in it? Take your calls, 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line, 646-360A, turnkey.pro text line.
That's your question. And my question is this: is Ted Cruz playing the woman card right now by having Carly Fiorina jump on as his vice presidential running mate? 312-642-5600. I mean, isn't Carly Fiorina the female version of Ted Cruz? Aren't they ideologically? Oh my God!
Ideologically,
thank you. Lined in the same. Are they the same person? Just one. They just have different parts. I mean, they're the.
Well,
they
first of all,
in the same.
First of all,
beliefs.
We don't see gender in this society anymore.
That's right. We're in a safe place.
They just have a different haircut. They're the same person.
Okay. One wears a dress and one doesn't. And I don't get me wrong. I love Carly, and I think she's presidential and she's studied, and I trust her, which is the most important thing. But I was a little surprised.
Well, you shouldn't have been surprised when they telegraphed that this was coming last week when they announced that they were vetting Carly. They were going through the process. That was the trial balloon to see how the reactions to see what the reactions would be, I should say. And then they waited. Mm-hmm. And the timing of the announcement was politically astute. They knew they were going to get slaughtered on Tuesday night in the Acela primary states, and they did. So take your beating, let the carnage subside, start Wednesday anew with an eye towards Indiana, which is all comes down to in terms of Cruz's continuing candidacy, the possibility that you could have a contested convention, a second ballot vote for the nomination. So wait till Wednesday and then roll out your vice presidential choice to change the narrative in the race, and so that people, even the Washington Press Corps, can't completely obsess about Donald Trump's 5-state sweep on Tuesday. Now they have to turn to the question of how does Fiorina impact the race. So I thought politically it was very well done. And let me say something about Cruz and Fiorina. Intellectually, in terms of intellectual heft, and in terms of tenacious commitment to advancing conservative principles and the policies that flow from conservative principles, there has not been a better 1-2 punch in my lifetime. So I don't see this as simply playing the woman card or the need to have a woman. And if he was going to do that, he would have picked a woman that is more of the warm and fuzzy in terms of personality. Carly Fiorina isn't that. Now, I don't think she's one-dimensional either, and I think she showed it on stage a little bit yesterday with her lullaby.
Oh, we'll get to that later, because I love that song.
Yeah.
We're going to auto-tunes that and have it for you later.
There you go. So, and just as Ted Cruz isn't one-dimensional, although sometimes he plays into the caricature of himself in terms of how he speaks to the electorate, but I mean, this is a serious ticket. If this this would be an exciting ticket if this was the ticket that was in the lead rather than Trump and a vice president to be named later. So, all of the dismissals, and it's been mixed, the reaction, of course, the Trump people are dismissing that, Trump supporters. But I think there's reason to have renewed excitement in the Cruz candidacy with the addition of Carly.
And Carly, I'll tell you, she's a pit bull, and it's fun to have a fresh voice attacking Donald Trump.
Of course Donald Trump would do that, and the guy who practices saying anything to get elected is actually Donald J. Trump, because all the stuff he's talking about now, I'm going to fight the system. He's not going to fight the system. He is the system. He's benefited from the system all of his life. So, see you out on the campaign trail, Donald.
She's not, I love her. She's just a strong woman, and she's polished.
And let's remember, when we were going through the process, the debates last year, and Carly was performing very well in those debates, let's remember the responses. I don't recall there was much other than praise offered for Carly Fiorina, even from people who were not supporting her. Mm-hmm. But she was a lot of second choice, third choice, fourth choice. But boy, I really like her. And boy, she's great going after Hillary. And boy, I would like to see Fiorina and Hillary on the same stage.
She's met with world leaders. She doesn't just talk about them. She knows them. And she performed so well in the debate that she moved up from the kiddie table to the big table.
Now, the question, the other issue, I guess, is, is this too little too late? It's very much like the Kasich-Cruz alliance, which seems to have subsided. Now we're not even talking about that. That didn't go so far. It doesn't appear. Now, it's always hard to know what's happening on the ground. Sands can shift very quickly, even to our neighbor to the east, in terms of knowing exactly what's happening, what the impact is. But it will be interesting to see what the impact is in terms of Fiorina. Will people who have kind of grown weary of the race, I just let it be over already. Trump is going to win, and even if I don't like him, I'm going to start trying to position myself to get comfortable with him because he's the nominee. Will Fiorina, her addition to the Cruz candidacy, will that get people to pause and say, well, wait a second. That's an interesting ticket. This isn't over. I am going to take a look at this. And maybe we should move to Cruz in Indiana and push this thing on a little bit longer and let the Cruz-Fiorina ticket have some room to breathe and see how it turns out.
I think that there's a point there. I mean, there was a new energy to their campaign. It made me look and made me say, John who? Because John Kasich is so dead in the water right now that it's a joke. But I love them together. But I just don't know if it's going to be enough to stop Trump and to put him over the top. That's the problem.
Well, there's a lot of momentum behind Trump and perhaps more momentum after his foreign policy speech, which received mixed reviews, and we'll get to that. But I thought Carly Fiorina, one of the things that she brings is a way to very kind of matter-of-factly frame things. She's the best in this race at doing it, and it's not close, including her presidential companion here, Ted Cruz. And she did it yesterday when she laid out the case against Hillary and Trump together.
You see what we have? Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton, they are two sides of the same coin. They're both liberal, we know that. But, Hillary Clinton, like so many politicians, Hillary Clinton has made her millions selling access and influence from inside the system. And Donald Trump has made his billions buying people like Hillary Clinton. They are not going to challenge the system that has sold us all down the river. They're not going to challenge the elites. They're not going to challenge the crony capitalists. They're not going to challenge the Washington insiders. They're not going to challenge the lobbyists. Gosh, their campaign is filled with them. No, they're not going to challenge the system. They are the system.
But isn't this unprecedented, though? I mean, he hasn't secured the nomination for the party, and he's already announcing his vice presidential running mate.
Well, not only that,
because people are calling it the Hail Mary, last-ditch effort to save the campaign.
He's eliminate Ted. Right, that's the response from the Trump supporters to trust Ted, eliminate Ted. Well, it's not unprecedented in the sense that in '76, Reagan announced his running mate, Richard Schweikert, who is a senator from Pennsylvania, going into a contested convention against Gerald Ford. So it's happened before. Is it unusual? Yes. Has this been a bit of an unusual campaign? I would say so. Yeah. So, the fact that there's not a lot of precedence for this doesn't necessarily undermine it as a sensible move. I mean, think about this. If Cruz were the nominee, forget the timing of it for a second. If Cruz were the nominee, who would have been a better VP choice for him than Carly Fiorina?
I don't think anybody.
I mean, you could make an argument for Rubio or someone else, but I think
too much bad blood between those two.
But I think the argument for but he's got Florida and all that. Although. Apparently, from the primary, he doesn't
have
Florida very
Trump
much.
had Florida.
But yeah, so I mean, I think the argument you can make for Carly, if Cruz was the nominee, as strong as you could make for any other potential VP for Cruz. So if that's the best choice you have, why not make it now?
And here's why Ted Cruz said he made the choice.
It's tradition that a vice presidential nominee is announced at the convention. It is unusual to make the announcement as early as we're doing so now. Well, I think all would acknowledge this race, if anything, it is unusual.
Yeah, we've got some text coming in. She's also from California, 630. So California with the idea of California being after Indiana, of course. That has an added advantage right now. Text from another 630. Dan, you have a better chance of predicting the win place show in the Kentucky Derby than Ted and Carly have, possibly even having a remote chance. I'm only going with the exacta. And I only have confidence in the first two, so you're right about that. Text from Steve on 88. One thing Cruz has that Romney didn't have is conviction. One thing Cruz will not have is the GOP nomination. And then 815, can you say $500,000 donation to Carly months ago from Cruz Super PAC yesterday was no surprise? I disagree with that. I think what a Super PAC does, remember, uncoordinated from the campaign and the candidacy the Super PAC is supporting, to support Carly. Maybe they knew there was going to be an alliance, and Carly has been stumping for Ted Cruz for the last 7 weeks. She voted for Ted Cruz, as she said, before she ever even met him, said that in her acceptance speech yesterday. But I don't think maybe the $500,000 donation from the Super PAC to a Carly PAC was indicative that there was going to be alliance. It didn't necessarily mean it was definitive that she was going to be the VP nominee and particularly be announced at this time. So I think there are much bigger dynamics than this $500,000 Super PAC donation that some Trumpsters want to obsess about.
The stories you need to know to start your day. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Women do like to sing, including Carly. We'll have it here. But first, here's your forecast. It's pretty nasty out there. It's one of those days you want to crawl back in bed. Yucky, chilly. It's going to be rain on and off throughout the day. There's some standing water out on the roadways, so allow yourself some extra time to get to work, that's for sure. And a high, if we're lucky, in the upper 40s. Let's get those travel times. A busy man today. Here's Jim Telemonte.
Good morning, Amy. Good morning, Dan. Amy, you're right about that standing water on the Eisenhower at Central Avenue. The ramp from Central to the outbound Ike is partially blocked right now due to some of that high water. It's passable, but be careful. There is a crash report at 53 northbound at Higgins Road. Roads are wet. There's a little fog. Almost all flights are on schedule, but we're expecting a rough commute. For now, we have the same street closures downtown around Grant Park, around the Auditorium Theater for the NFL Draft, but there will be additional closures, including stretches of Michigan Avenue and Congress this afternoon. You also have Cubs traffic on the north side this afternoon. Right now, other than the aforementioned items, things are looking pretty good, but traffic's building. Again, it's wet. Take your time. I'm Jim Talamonte, the Guardian Security Services Traffic Center.
You know, most people think when the stock market falls, everyone loses money. But guess what?
And so it is time now to unite behind the one man who can beat Donald Trump, who can beat Hillary.
So you can
I'll just add that Margaret Thatcher once said, if you want something talked about,
but whether you're pro-choice or pro-life, the majority of Americans are horrified. In any event, I've been called all kinds of things. I mean, I've been called a bimbo from the time I was a secretary to the time I was a CEO. I think we need to be able to have civil conversations in this country about our differences.
Learn what Wall Street doesn't want you to know. Call Online Trading Academy now at 888-601-TRADE. That's 888-601-8723. 888-601-TRADE. Call 888-601-TRADE or online at tradingacademy.com.
I have struggled with irritable bowel syndrome for 40 years. I mean, really struggled with it. And I want you to know that since I have been taking Balance of Nature, I don't have it anymore. But I mean, after 40 years, I'm 75 years old, and after 40 years of struggling with this, and, you know, early on taking all kinds of medication and this, that, and the other thing, back in October, I was able to cancel my appointment with the gastroenterologist. You know, your products have made my life. They have improved the quality of my life so tremendously. I can't be grateful enough. So please thank you all, and please, if you ever have a chance to, please thank Dr. Howard.
Good health is just a phone call away. What are you waiting for? Call now and take the health challenge to get a free month's supply of Balance of Nature. Call 1-800-2468-751. That's 1-800-2468-751. Or go online to balanceofnature.com. Use promo code CHICAGO.
Here's a quiz. Is identity theft just when someone other than you puts charges on your credit card? Nope, that's part of it, but identity theft is actually when someone pretends they're you for any number of undesirable reasons, like opening new accounts or a utility bill. Is it true that identity theft can't happen to you? Nope. 1 in 4 people have experienced identity theft. Will LifeLock help you more with identity theft than free credit monitoring will? Yep. LifeLock's proprietary technology detects a huge range of identity threats. And if you ever have a problem, one of our US-based agents will work to resolve it. So how'd you do on the quiz? Come on, how'd you really do? No one can prevent all identity theft or monitor all transactions at all businesses. But with LifeLock, you get a versus a when it comes to identity protection. Membership starts at just $9.99 a month plus applicable taxes. Go to LifeLock.com and enter promo code NEWS to get 10% off now. LifeLock.
AM 560, The Answer.
Dan and Amy talking about the Cruz Carly ticket, newly minted. Funny Facebook post.
Yeah.
When Cruz loses Indiana next week, maybe he'll call a news conference on Wednesday, announce his cabinet.
Oh,
Hi-oh.
that's
All right.
actually
Tough.
good. I like that. I like that. But yesterday, she tried to show her human side, her mom side, that she's down with the moms out there to try and attract the woman vote, I think. But it was kind of cute, kind of cheeky. It's getting a lot more attention than I think the big announcement was her singing a lullaby, what she does on the bus with Caroline and Catherine.
These are
Ted Cruz's daughters.
Correct, yes.
And so I like to sing, and so does Carly Fiorina.
I know 2 girls that I just adore. I'm so happy I can see them more. 'Cause we travel on the bus all day. We get to play. We get to play. I won't bore you with any more of the song.
That's not bad.
What do you think? Because I know Mike Scott, father of 4, he loves that song. He's already been singing it. He downloaded it on his iPad or iPhone.
If I can don my Simon Cowell kind of American Idol hat.
Sure, the head voice. So give her credit for that.
I thought it was a little pitchy in parts, but I like the presentation. There's something there. I'm going to vote yes, send her to the next round.
Okay, good.
To be honest with you, the whole thing was just horrendous.
Yeah.
But I know some other men in my life who heard that and went, "Oh, what is she doing? Stop."
Well,
Make her stop.
Well, again,
we don't want mommy Fiorina. We want hard, nail-biting, in-your-face Fiorina.
You can have both.
Okay.
I mean, you're allowed to have texture to your personality. You don't have to be one-dimensional. It doesn't always say there's allowed to be some modulation there.
Uh-huh.
She is a mom. She
is.
has, she's very tough on.
She's a grandma.
And substantive when it comes to public policy, when it comes to constitutional principles. But yeah, she has a family and she's a mom and a grandma. So it's
cute.
It's all good.
All right, on to the next round she goes. It's been decided right here.
Ed in Oak Brook, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Yeah, you know what? I got to agree with you guys that this would be a great team in the White House. Unfortunately, I think this is a bad move for Carly because I don't think Ted is going to get the nomination, and it's just going to make her look bad, a 3-time loser because she lost the Senate and this and some other thing. So, in other words, what I'm trying to say is Carly would have been a great president, but I don't think Ted's going to make the nomination, Dan. I'm sorry to say it. I wish they would, but I just don't think he's going to do it.
Yeah, thanks for the call, Ed.
I honestly,
I understand that. That's where the odds are.
Yeah, in my heart of hearts, I honestly thought that Donald Trump would choose her as a VP to run against Hillary and some unknown. I honestly thought that was going to be the card that was going to be played.
It wouldn't have surprised me if she would have agreed to it. But the question is, would Carly agree to be his VP?
And who got to her first? Obviously, Ted Cruz did, but maybe Donald Trump reached out to her too.
It also raises the question of, okay, if you say Trump is going to be the nominee, well, who is his VP going to be? If he does win Indiana on Tuesday, he needs to start thinking about that and putting that list together. And
he's got to go with either Kasich or Rubio. I think if he wants to win Ohio, definitely Kasich. Definitely. But then again, do you want him a heartbeat away from the presidency?
Well, first of all, I don't think he needs Kasich to win Ohio. Mm-hmm. Secondly, I think Kasich probably does go back to Ohio after this, a place that he's comfortable, a place where people actually will vote for him.
Well, he has a GOP there, too.
That's
he
the only,
does have a job.
Well, that's the only place he can go where people vote for him.
Come on, say it. He's the one-state wonder. Come on, Dan.
So, but it does. What Cruz did as well, maybe it starts to prompt some speculation about a Trump VP, and maybe we'll have a trial balloon from Trump in the not-too-distant future about who he's vetting. And won't that be interesting? Because Trump, unlike Cruz, I think you've got a lot of people that are if Cruz were in that position, if Cruz were the front runner. I don't think you have anybody that's going to turn down Ted Cruz as the nominee to be his VP. I think there are some people that still at this stage have enough qualms about Donald Trump that they would turn down the number 2 slot. And the number 2 slot is going to say a lot about Trump's candidacy and a lot about what kind of stability he may bring as a general election candidate in a general election campaign. So that's going to be a really important choice for the Donald.
You know what I heard yesterday? Hillary Clinton, one of my Democratic operatives who claims that they're in the know, says that she's really leaning to Deval Patrick to be her VP.
And let me tell you something.
Yes.
That friend who claims to be in the know, not in the know.
I actually think you could have come in with a more emotional song, made a bigger impact. For me, it was a bit buskerish.
You've made the switch, and it feels so good. You've switched to Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
A beauty day to play 18, huh, Dale? 80 degrees and not a cloud in the sky. The forecast looks great for the next 3 days, too. Looks like we'll just schedule 3 more courses this week.
You've been pretty lucky that you've been able to spend some quality time in the sun. Something that you may not be so lucky with is the fact that 1 in 5 people will develop skin cancer in their lifetime. At Dermatology and Plastic Surgery Associates, they know that most people are unaware of the effects that a lifetime of sun can have on their skin. If you've been sunburned in your lifetime, it's time to have your skin checked out. Call Dermatology and Plastic Surgery Associates at 855-560-SKIN. or visit skinhealthpros.com. The doctors at Dermatology and Plastic Surgery Associates have your skin health covered. Skin cancer kills, so today's the day to get your skin checked. Dermatology and Plastic Surgery Associates, 855-560-SKIN. or visit skinhealthpros.com. Healthy skin, healthy body, healthy, happy you.
Get out and have some fun. Visit ChicagoRadioDeals.com for a fun night out on the town. Grab your sweet Caroline and make a date to listen to your favorite music. Direct from Branson, Missouri is Denny Diamond and the Jewels, featuring the music of, guess who? Neil Diamond. Normally $76 for lunch and a show for 2. It's only $39 at ChicagoRadioDeals.com. Or head downtown for some laughs. $22 will get you a pair of tickets to Comedy Sports Chicago. Now, this is a unique blend of fast and funny improv comedy that's appropriate for all ages. This Laugh Out Loud show features 2 improv teams that play games on stage with a referee, and you, the audience, is in on it for a laugh out loud good time. Or hit the waves and take advantage of the Sea Dog Extreme Thrill Ride. Oh, that'll be fun today, huh? You won't need to grab a jacket or anything.
Great day for the Sea Dog.
Yeah, or you could do that or take a lake and architectural tour, all from Entertainment Cruise Line.
Right after the Sea Dog.
Right. So if you want to also to get out of town, escape to Wisconsin. It's really warm there today. You can find certificates for the Schuster Mansion Bed and Breakfast in Milwaukee or the Door County White Lace Inn. So check in every week for fun and adventure with family and friends only at ChicagoRadioDeals.com. Coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Can I just address this argument real quick?
Yes,
real quick.
Oh, yeah.
Carly Fiorina's lost twice. How many more times does she want to lose? That's such a silly argument. Obama won all but one of his elections. So is he a winner? So does that mean you like him? Address Carly on the merits, Trumpsters.
Yeah. Remember, Ronald Reagan ran for president 3 times. But first, now, let's go back into the newsroom. Here is Mike Scott.
Amy and Dan, good morning. 43 degrees. We have cloudy skies. Republican presidential frontrunner Donald Trump dismissing rival Ted Cruz at a town hall event in Indianapolis yesterday, saying Cruz is wasting his time choosing former presidential candidate Carly Fiorina as a running mate.
It gets him in the news cycle because he's been totally taken out. You know, he had a horrible day yesterday, and he came in third, meaning 3rd out of 3.
Fiorina fired back, saying there's little difference between Trump and Democratic candidate Hillary Clinton.
Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton are virtually indistinguishable in their positions. They are virtually indistinguishable in the fact that they have always been insiders.
Other news we're following at this hour. Doctors Without Borders says 14 patients and medical staff were among those killed in deadly overnight airstrikes at a hospital in Syria's contested city of Aleppo. Dennis Hastert, once 3rd in line for the presidency, sentenced to 15 months in a federal prison in a hush money case tied to his sexual abuse of former high school students. U.S. Attorney Zach Farden.
Mr. Hastert's legend and legacy are gone, and in its place are a broken, humiliated man. That is as it should be.
Before imposing that 15-month sentence, U.S. District Judge Thomas Durkin spent nearly an hour rebuking the 74-year-old Republican for his sexual abuse of high school athletes. We're following a developing story on the Korean Peninsula this morning, where South Korea says it suspects a powerful intermediate-range North Korean missile crash moments after liftoff. If confirmed, it would be the second such embarrassing failure for the North in recent weeks. The National Weather Service has just confirmed at least 3 tornadoes touched down in central Illinois as storms moved across the Midwest yesterday. An investigation is underway after several vehicles caught fire in Aurora. Crews discovered 2 SUVs ablaze in the 300 block of Melrose Avenue. Less than 20 minutes later, another car fire reported about 2 miles away. Detectives believe today the vehicles were targeted. White Sox beat Toronto 4-0. Milwaukee and the Cubs postponed because of rain. The news service of Staples, with low prices every day, and with Staples Price Match Guarantee, you'll get the lowest price on everything you need. Price Match is good at checkout for items from retailers operating online and in-store, or products sold and shipped by Amazon. See store for Staples or Staples.com for details. Staples, make more happen. 5:35 and a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
The average Republican voter out there right now is looking for an outsider who will blow the whole damn thing up.
The Joe Walsh Show.
I don't want somebody who comes from Washington. I don't want somebody to get along with Democrats. Not this year. I want the whole system blown up. That's why Trump, or that's why Cruz.
The Joe Walsh Show. Weeknights starting at 5. Right after Sean Hannity at 2 on AM 560. The Answer.
This year, that's where Republican voters are at.
Don't miss Cabela's Sidewalk Sale. Take an additional 20% off the lowest marked price on select men's and women's casual apparel. Plus much more. Cabela's Sidewalk Sale, now through Sunday.
Everywhere you go, the threat looms. It follows you no matter what you do. The longer you avoid the IRS and the financial difficulties you're going through, the closer they get to you. John DeWatt of Thinking Outside the Box Law Firm can help you end the feeling of being hunted by the IRS. If you've avoided taxes or could benefit from the life-saving assistance of bankruptcy, it's time you call John DeWatt. This is an attorney who is willing to take on the federal government on your behalf. He has worked to discharge thousands of dollars in penalties, and he can help you settle your debts once and for all. Call 888-777-4193. Let the hunters become the hunted. Let John DeWatt of Thinking Outside the Box Law Firm deal with the IRS personally. Call John for your own relief plan. 888-777-4193 or online at thinkingoutsidetheboxlaw.com. That's thinkingoutsidetheboxlaw.com.
5:37 in our Guardian Security Services Traffic Center. Here is Jim Talamonte.
Thanks, Mike. On the eastbound Adams Tollway, I-90, traffic is jamming up from Arlington Heights Road to Bussey, where there's a crash blocking 2 left lanes. There's also a report of an accident northbound 53 at Higgins. The Edens is wet, but otherwise okay. Same goes for the Kennedy. The Eisenhower outbound has some water at Central Avenue, partially blocking the entrance ramp. Inbound Stevenson, it's a 2-minute delay, Cicero to Kedzie. Ride has delays starting around 31st. It's 19 minutes, 95th to downtown. Heavier in the express. Bishop Ford inbound. The exit to eastbound 130th is blocked with a stalled truck. There are mild delays from 103rd to the merge. Traffic is a service of CiCi's Pizza. Ready for an adventure and flavor? CiCi's brings 3 new flatbread pizzas to the unlimited buffet. Try the new spinach Alfredo, chicken bacon club, and honey barbecue chicken. More flavor to explore for the same great value. Just $5 and change. Only at CiCi's. Better, believe it. Traffic answers when you need them most. Jim Talamonte on AM 560, The Answer.
Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. Your official Chicagoland weather forecast from the aircomfort.com Weather Center. A breezy, chilly day ahead with occasional rain and drizzle. 49 for a high temp, 43 right now. Next, news at 6. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by the New American Funding Show, walking you through stress-free mortgage options. Sunday afternoons at 1 on AM 560, The Answer.
If you're talking about it, I'll be talking about it. Dennis Prager here. Join me this morning at 11, right here on AM 560, The Answer.
Good morning, Dan and Amy. So, Denny Hastert sentenced to 15 months in prison yesterday, $250,000 fine, 2 years of supervised release. Simple question. Was justice served in the Denny Hastert case, or as much justice as we could get given the restraints on federal prosecutors because of the statute of limitations on the underlying crimes of sexually molesting children?
312.
Serial,
Yeah.
Judge Durkin. I mean, this is an amazing statement about the Speaker of the House. Serial child molester. That's what Thomas Durkin said.
Yeah.
Serial child molester. That's what will be on Denny Hastert's epitaph.
Yeah, and I was there, and he said serial child molester 4 times. And he said it's so disturbing to me. The most disturbing part of this is using serial child molester and Speaker of the House in the same sentence. So Judge Durkin spent an hour lambasting him. It was a public flogging. It was great. I mean, just talking mostly about the sexual abuse and the harm that he has caused to people. Just 5 that we know of. But he was coach for 16 years, and he had access to so many children, Dan, that I do believe that it's going to be much more than 5.
Was justice served? 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line, 64636DA, turnkey.pro text line. Well, it's not only 16 years as a coach. Did he have access when he was a member of Congress? Did he have access when he was Speaker of the House? Of course he did. Does a sexual predator change his stripes? That's not our understanding of the mindset of a sexual predator.
And there's news this morning. CNN's reporting that our Illinois Attorney General, Lisa Madigan, is thinking about whether or not to get rid of the statute of limitations when it comes to child molesters. And I think that would be a big difference in this case. And he said, I wish I could sentence you as a child molester instead of the bank fraud.
It's a federal case. Not a state case.
Well, she's saying in regards to state cases, she wants to eliminate the statute of limitations for child molesters.
The question is, before we get to those other ancillary issues, was justice served in this case with a 15-month sentence? Now, Judge Durkin did the unusual thing that we anticipated he would do, which is to discard the recommendation of federal prosecutors, which was as part of the plea agreement they had arranged, 0 to 6 months sentence. He went 1.5 times that sentence.
Yeah. He handed down a longer sentence than the prosecutors asked for. I can't remember the last time I was in court where I saw that happen.
It is a rare occurrence, but it does happen. But he could have gone further. It could have been a more stringent sentence. Could have maxed him out. Chose not to. We also said that he can serve his time in a prison hospital. Durkin said specifically this is not to be a death sentence. So reviewing what Judge Durkin did, and by the way, that also demands that we review what Zach Farden, the U.S. Attorney for the Northern District, did. This is an important person in the story as well. And Zach Farden talked after the sentencing on the sentence that was passed and said this.
I wish Mr. Hastert had been called on the carpet in 1968, and we'd all be better for it. This is imperfect, but it's what we got. We take no joy in this. There is no joy in this. There are no winners in any of this. But at the end of the day, there are heroes, and those heroes were those victims that stood up in court today and told their story in a manner that can make us all stronger and better going forward.
Yeah, I agree with the second part of what he said. But the first part, we did what we could. No. No, you didn't. You could have struck a much different deal. You could have said no deal whatsoever because we have you dead to rights on the structured withdrawals charges. So you want to go to trial? Let's go to trial. Farden recommending 0 to 6 months, knowing where this was going, even if they hadn't gathered all the facts when the plea bargain was struck. I think Farden has some answering to do about the deal that he cut that was essentially overruled by Durkin.
And Durkin was pretty much had picked out a federal prison, a level 4 federal prison that's got the medical unit in it, where he wanted Hastert to go. But they were so nice to him because they said, well, go check out the prisons and then we'll talk later about a surrender date. We'll come back to court. No, have him surrender. I wanted him to surrender right then and there. And then the judge is saying, you're going to Rochester, Minnesota. The Mayo Clinic's nearby. It's a perfect place for you. Go now. But they were treating him with kid gloves. And then when he was leaving the courthouse in the foyer, the U.S. Marshal stood up and said, no cell phone. Do not take a picture of him. It's like, no, we're in a public place. We should be able to take a picture of Denny Hastert leaving the building. He is a self-proclaimed sexual molester because he stood up in court and publicly for the first time admitted, yes, I slept in the same bed as individual A. Yes, I performed oral sex on individual B. Oof. Individual C, I don't remember. Individual D, who's Scott Cross, whose brother is Tom Cross, and everybody, we were all wondering why Tom Cross was there, but then we knew. He doesn't remember whether or not he touched him, whether or not he was trying to help him lose weight by rubbing certain muscles. And then when it came to Stephen Reinbold, the judge said, did you sexually molest Reinbold? And Denny Hastert said, and it was so weird, Dan, he said, well, that one was different. That one was different. And then he paused, and I, honest to God, thought that he was going to come out and say, I loved him, or we had a relationship, because it was so strange that this long pause. I mean, everything else, he was, yes, yes. Well, that one was different. Well, how is it different? Well, his sister, you know how it was different? His sister got up, and I haven't seen this been reported anywhere. When she got up and she talked about when her brother died of AIDS in the 90s, and it was so taboo, Dan, that she couldn't find a funeral home to take his body. She couldn't find, and then she did find a funeral home to take his body, but it had to be in the dead of the night. And how Denny Hastert destroyed her brother, destroyed his confidence, because they were together, and then he left and he moved on to somebody else, and that destroyed her brother. So Denny Hastert, he's a child molester, but he's a monster. And I don't believe it's just 5. I think we have a Jerry Sandusky here on our hands.
Well, we know from the pattern. It's not like he's the first evil sexual predator that ever existed. We know from the pattern that they don't stop. So the idea that this just occurred when he was at Yorkville High School seems difficult to believe. I mean, other people haven't come forward yet perhaps for the same reason that the people who did come forward took so long to come forward. All the shame and the guilt, as Scott Cross, Tom Cross's brother, former House Minority Leader of 10 years, 2003 to 2013, Denny Hastert protege, Tom Cross, his brother, Scott Cross, 53 years old, married, 2 kids, said in court yesterday that he came forward to his family a year ago when all this started and let them know what was happening. He's been in counseling for a year. Now I was told he's gone away. He's on a vacation, just to take some time to regroup after all of this. But his father spoke, Thomas Cross, after the hearing to ABC 7's Chuck Gowdy.
My wife and I are immensely proud of Scott for his character, his courage today, and the good man he is.
But what's sick is that Denny Hastert asked Tom Cross, Scott's brother, to write a character letter for him, knowing that Tom Cross had known what he did to his brother.
Here's something.
I mean, how bold and dumb is Dennis Hastert?
Here's something else. I mentioned Tom Cross, House Minority Leader for 10 years, in the General Assembly for 20 years, was Denny Hastert. Denny Hastert was his political sponsor. So you want to know how sick Illinois politics is? You know how sick and evil Denny Hastert is? Think about it this way. Is there any doubt that Denny Hastert molests Tom Cross's brother, and his make-good is to shepherd Tom Cross's political career?
I mean, this is a cold and calculated monster who had way too much power, and how he rose to fame like this and political power, and not one person came forward. I know that there is a stigma attached to being molested, and I am sorry, and I feel sick for all those victims out there, but I think the others should do the right thing and come forward. I talked to Christy Brown, Individual A's attorney, and said, what's your client's reaction to the sentencing? And she said, we're pleased, but still he does not want his identity known.
Text from 773, Blago got 11 times more time than Dirtbag Hastert.
Yeah, and that's another problem that I have. Blago, even George Ryan, who, he spent, how many, 6 years in jail?
Right.
And Denny Hastert ruins all these lives, and it's 15 months.
So Hastert didn't have the same exposure in terms of length of sentence. But your point is well taken. The texter's point is well taken. And this question, too. What if Denny Hastert hadn't been a member of Congress or Speaker of the House? Do you think it would have been the same sentence? With the underlying crimes, do you think it would have been the same sentence? Or do we have...
you would have gotten home confinement.
But you think the sentence would have been less?
Oh, yeah. If he wasn't Speaker of the House?
No. I think it's the other way. It'd be interesting. We'll take calls on 312-642-5600. Do you think Denny Hastert got a break because he was Speaker of the House, or he got a stiffer sentence because he was Speaker of the House? Take your calls on that.
Connect with Dan and Amy using the AM 560 mobile app. Download it today at 560theanswer.com/mobile.
Coming up next, one state lawmaker wants everyone to know that this wasn't political, the Denny Hastert allegations. But first, here's your forecast. It's just going to be a nasty day. Breezy, chilly, rain on and off throughout the day. A high in the upper 40s. Tonight into the 30s we go. And tomorrow, Friday, Dan Proff's birthday. It's going to be cool, cloudy in the morning, then clouds and sun in the afternoon, a high of 54. Is there any standing water on the roadways? Here's Jim Telemonte.
There is, Amy. Outbound Eisenhower, the ramp from Central Avenue to the outbound Ike is partly blocked due to high water. You can get through. The inbound side of the Ike has delays now from Manheim to 17th Avenue. It's 31 minutes Thorndale to downtown. Traffic still fairly light on the Edens and on the Kennedy, but the Stevenson has delays from Cicero to Kedzie, 37 minutes, 3:55 to Lakeshore Drive. Ryan is 20 minutes, 95th to downtown. Bishop Ford, 25 minutes, 89-4 to the merge. The exit to eastbound 130th blocked with a stalled truck. We're seeing the biggest delays of all in the eastbound Adams Tollway. Traffic is jammed. Arlington Heights Road to Bussey with a crash in the two left lanes. Northbound 53 at Higgins, crash blocking one left lane. I'm Jim Talamonte, the Guardian Security Services Traffic Center.
Hey, we want to say thanks to the dozens of businesses that stepped up to become business benefactors for our annual golf outing coming up on June 16th at the Bolingbrook Golf Club. This year's outing benefits Operation Support Our Troops America and the great work that they do for your military members, their families, and our returning veterans. Now, if you own or run a business or make marketing decisions for your business, well, you're in luck. We've had a few slots open up for you to become that business benefactor. Here's how it works. Purchase a foursome for $996. We'll turn that into $3,000 of advertising in the form of 25 one-minute commercials that will air right here on AM 560. Now, these opportunities are extremely limited, so please call Michael Mann today, 847-871-1527. That's 847-871-1527, and tell him that you want to become a business benefactor. That number again, 847-871-1527, or go to 560theanswer.com/golf.
You know the name Barbara Walters. Now remember the company, Ameritrust Mortgage.
Ameritrust Mortgage was formed along with a talented professional staff that makes your mortgage process easy, swift, and cost-efficient for you, the home buyer, and for those who refinance. Ameritrust is all-inclusive, start to finish, the way lending should be. At Ameritrust, we believe it has been our privilege to have helped thousands of people over 30 years with purchasing or refinancing their home. We are here to help. Let us customize a loan program for your specific needs, FHA, VA, or conventional. At Ameritrust, the responsibility belongs to me. It's my name on the door. I am the president. I am Barbara Walters. Call Ameritrust now, 815-459-7303. Again, that number is 815-459-7303, or visit us at am560myhome.com.
Ameritrust Mortgage is an equal housing lender. Illinois Residential Mortgage Licensee number 720. NMLS number 217229.
CertaPro painters are here for every stage of your life, from moving into a new home, creating the ideal nursery, to reinventing your living space. CertaPro painting experts create the perfect setting while you do life. They came to our home and brightened our walls and our moods so very quiet they wouldn't wake a baby. But the best part? They clean up after themselves so you don't have to do it. And now that spring is here, it is the perfect time to spruce up your home's exterior. Take a look at your home. Do you see chipping, peeling, fading? Well, leave it to CertaPro painting experts to refresh, renew, and protect your biggest investment, your home. Now is the time to call for your free estimate and schedule your exterior painting project. 1-800-GO-CERTA, 1-800-GOCERTA. That's CERTA with a C. Or visit CertaPro.com today, CertaPro.com. CertaPro Painters, we do painting, you do life. Each CertaPro Painters business is independently owned and operated.
AM 560, The Answer.
Dan and Amy, one of the other issues, Texter had brought this up. What about his pension? Mike Scott reported that his state teacher's pension, the check that was supposed to go out next month, is being withheld.
That's like $16,000 a year he gets.
Yeah, they'll move to eliminate that, but here's the deal. Federal pension?
And states, like $100,000.
Yeah, but the federal pension is the majority of it.
Yes.
And that is not unnecessarily going to be eliminated. I mean, this is what's so sickening about the system and how politicians cover for themselves. There's a list of felonies for which, if you are convicted, you lose your federal pension. This, structured bank withdrawals, remember, that's what he was convicted on. Not one of them. So there's a very good chance he keeps his $73,000, rough numbers, annual pension from the federal government. It is just
a state pension.
It is just absurd. It is absurd, the loopholes that exist for convicted felon politicians to keep their taxpayer-funded pensions. Frankly, taxpayer-funded pensions they shouldn't have in the first place. But the idea that we'll finance a pension for Denny Hastert in his golden years, even his prison years, is absurd, but it's the reality.
And then there's this. Matt Murphy, state rep out of Palatine. State senator, out of Palatine. Charles Thomas was trying to get reactions from congressional members, former congressional members, state politicians. No one would speak to him, but Matt Murphy spoke with him and said this isn't, we have to keep in mind that this happened when he was a coach. This had nothing to do when he was in politics.
I don't think there's anything political to be gleaned from this, to be perfectly honest. He got a sentence that I think was reasonable for what he's done.
What's your reaction to that? Because we don't know what he did when he was a congressman, how he had access to pages and things like that.
That is an absurd statement. That is a remarkably ignorant statement. I like Matt Murphy. He's a friend. That is ridiculous. Stop worrying about the Republican Party's shield. Stop protecting the shield. Own Denny Hastert and suggest that, of course, his personal conduct influenced the decisions he made as a member of Congress and certainly as Speaker of the House. Everything needs to be looked at in a new light, starting with the Mark Foley scandal that he slow-walked, that the predator from Florida that he slow-walked when he was Speaker of the House. Give me a break. This has everything to do with politics and everything to do with the kind of character of people we elect to high office and then ascend to even higher office, as Denny Hastert did. This has everything to do with our political culture.
Hear about the big stories of the day, then talk about them right here on Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
If medications haven't helped you treat your depression, why haven't you tried TMS therapy offered by Theramind? Now there is a way to successfully treat your depression without the need for meds and their harmful side effects. TMS therapy is covered by most insurance, including Blue Cross Blue Shield of Illinois and Medicare. Don't continue to suffer needlessly. Call Theramind. Don't wait. Call Theramind now. 847-562-5868. The single greatest advancement to date in treating depression is TMS. It's an FDA-cleared, non-drug, safe, and effective treatment. TMS has already changed the lives of over 50,000 patients. Why not you? Visit TMSmind.com. Depression can be beaten, and without drugs. Call Theramind today, 847-562-5868, or get more info at TMSmind.com. That's Theramind at 847-562-5868 or online at tmsmind.com.
My name is David Hochberg, and I'm Vice President of Lending at Pearl Mortgage. That's right, I'm now Vice President of Lending at Pearl Mortgage. If you're looking to purchase a new home or refinance your existing home, give me a call. I'm the same guy that's provided listeners with honest advice and outstanding customer service for the past 13 years. The only thing that's changed is where I work. When you wanted to purchase a home after filing bankruptcy or when your home was foreclosed, you called me and I helped you. When you tried to purchase a home you couldn't afford, you called me and I advised you to purchase a less expensive home. If you want to talk with me about about a mortgage, please give me a call at 312-751-1333. That's 312-751-1333. Email david@perldavid.com. That's david@perldavid.com. Or visit my website, am560david.com. 312-751-1333. Pearl Mortgage is an equal housing lender, Illinois residential mortgage licensee, 4358, licensed by DBO under California RMLA NMLS 19186, pearlmortgage.com licensing.
On AM 560 The Answer, we talk about the important issues that affect your world. Things like the economy, education, and foreign policy. There's always so much going on in the news that we don't always have the time to drill down and talk about the big ideas behind the big issues. That's where Upstream Ideas comes in. Upstream Ideas, online at upstream-ideas.com, in partnership with the Illinois Policy Institute, provides the kind of information that informs the policy discussions happening here on AM 560. At Upstream Ideas, you'll broaden the debate, move beyond partisan assumptions, and challenge accepted orthodoxies. In other words, Upstream Ideas goes against the current and thinks upstream. Go online now to upstream-ideas.com. That's upstream-ideas.com. You'll be armed with new information and fresh perspectives to spur you on to make the state of Illinois and the United States of America a bit more free, a bit more just, and a bit more civilized. Upstream-ideas.com.
A cloudy, rainy morning ahead. Check out the forecast after Fox News. WIND Chicago News Time is 6 o'clock.
Fox News Radio, I'm Lisa Brady. Ted Cruz makes a rare move for a candidate who's losing.
My vice presidential nominee, Carly Fiorina.
Picking a running mate as he banks on a contested convention. Fox Radio's Rachel Sutherland live in Washington.
Lisa, the Cruz-Fiorina 2016 signs are already printed as the duo hopes to stop Donald Trump from winning the GOP presidential nomination outright. Cruz made the curveball announcement yesterday during a rally in Indiana. Fiorina said she's happy to accept Cruz's offer.
This is a fight. This is a fight for the soul of our party and the future of our nation.
Rival Donald Trump calls a running mate announcement a waste of time. Lisa.
Thanks, Rachel. Trump also calling it another act of desperation. He won a high-profile Indiana endorsement ahead of next week's primary from Hoosiers coach Bobby Knight. Trump also gave his first formal policy speech yesterday on foreign affairs.
Trump, who often talks about flexibility and unpredictability, spoke in broad terms. He decried nation building while saying he will rebuild relationships with allies.
Fox Business Network's Blake Berman. Trump also vowing to defeat ISIS and to ease tensions with Russia, though he says he'd know when to walk away from the table. He says China would appreciate his strength. And above all, says he would put America first. Bernie Sanders cutting hundreds of campaign staffers, though still telling supporters he's in it to win it. He's also now saying, though, if he doesn't win, he wants enough delegates to help shape the agenda at the Democratic convention. Former House Speaker Dennis Hastert admitting he molested boys as a high school wrestling coach as he was sentenced to 15 months in prison for the hush money to hide it.
I wish Mr. Hastert had been called on the carpet in 1968. And we'd all be better for it.
But it was too late for federal prosecutors to charge him with sex abuse. Fox News Radio, fair and balanced.
Rain showers in Chicago, 43 at 6:02 on AM 560 The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. Eastern Illinois University tells us this morning there's a major outbreak of mumps on that campus. We've been tracking the mumps outbreak at Harvard. Now it hits the Midwest at Eastern Illinois University. The current outbreak, according to the school, started around April 11. Former U.S. House Speaker Dennis Hastert was sentenced to 15 months in prison for breaking federal banking rules in a scheme to cover up sexual abuse. The banking charges part of a broader allegation. The former House Speaker molested at least 4 former students when he was a teacher and wrestling coach in Yorkville. One former student spoke in court and says he was devastated by that abuse. U.S. Attorney Zach Fardin says the conviction and sentencing of Hastert begins to correct how history will regard him.
History would have told a lie. We're in a different and better place by virtue of having now an opportunity for the truth to be told, these victims to step forward, to show their courage.
Hastert will also lose his teacher's pension as a result of the sentencing. Governor Bruce Rauner says he wants to make up for lost time and pass a 2-year budget by the end of the regular session on May 31st. Details on this story from AM 560's David Stewart.
The state hasn't had a budget since the end of last June, but Rounder says he's optimistic after last week's college funding compromise that a 2-year deal can be done, if not during the regular session, then in overtime. And Rounder says he'd even pay himself for a special session.
I don't want taxpayers to be charged for it. I would seriously consider, we're discussing this within our administration, me paying for it personally, so the taxpayers don't have to if special sessions have to be called.
Rounder says several bipartisan groups are trying to reach agreements on various issues, including items from his pro-business, anti-union turned-around agenda. David Stewart, Chicago.
A Northwest Indiana funeral home bookkeeper employee faces 20 years in prison for allegedly embezzling more than $340,000. Court records filed at the U.S. District Court in Hammond show Donna Dixon has had a plea hearing scheduled for May 11. White Sox blanked Toronto 4-0. Milwaukee and the Cubs wiped out because of rain. The news, a service of CiCi's Pizza. Ready for an adventure in flavor? CiCi's brings 3 new flatbread pizzas to the unlimited buffet. The new Spinach Alfredo, Chicken Bacon Club, and Honey Barbecue Chicken. More flavor to explore for the same great value, $5 and change, only at CiCi's. Better believe it. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Dennis Prager explains why it's difficult to argue with the left.
It is the GOP that is closer to the scientific consensus. 65% of scientists want more nuclear power, too. Why is the left opposed to nuclear power? For the same reason it's opposed to fossil fuels, even though nuclear power has 0 greenhouse gases, because they're hysterical. That's right. It's all hysteria.
The Dennis Prager Show. Weekdays at 11, right before Sean Hannity at 2 on AM 560. The Answer.
Stay informed on current issues affecting the respect of human life and the family. Attend the Pro-Life Legislature Update sponsored by Lake County Right to Life, McHenry County Right to Life, and Illinois Citizens for Life. State Representative Barbara Wheeler, State Representative Sherry Jessel, and Senator Dan McConkey will update you with information direct from the floor in Springfield and Washington, D.C. Several bills are up for legislation affecting insurance rights, taxpayer issues, right of conscience laws, and more, all of which will have a direct effect on you and your family. The Pro-Life Legislature Update is this Saturday, April 30th from 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. at Marytown on Park Avenue in Libertyville. Seating is free of charge and includes breakfast. Donations will be accepted at the event. In a society where we receive messages in 140 characters or less, this is an opportunity to get informed and learn the facts. Please call for reservations, 847-223-7022, or visit lcrtl.org.
QL1, this is Control. Does Rocket Mortgage require me to fill out a bunch of paperwork?
That's negative, Control. Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans is the first on-demand mortgage machine that quickly and seamlessly imports your financial data. You can go through the entire mortgage process on your own and completely online.
Copy that, QL1, but if I wanted to speak to someone, do you think they're out there?
They're out there, all right. I've made contact before. In fact, according to J.D. Power, they've provided award-winning client service for 6 years in a row.
Roger that, QL1. It's nice to know they're out there, wherever they are.
Detroit Control. They're in Detroit. Over.
3, 2, 1.
Rocket Mortgage at QuickenLoans.com. Push button. Get mortgage.
Rocket. Visit for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender. Licensed in all 50 states. NMLSConsumerAccess.org number 3030.
6:07 in our Guardian Security Services Traffic Center. Here is Jim Talamonte.
Thanks, Mike. Traffic is jammed on the eastbound Adams Tollway I-90 from 53 to Bussey, where a crash has cleared now. The Edens is still looking good. Kennedy, some heavy pockets, no significant delays, but it's stop and go on the Eisenhower. Inbound side from Wolf to First Avenue. 36 minutes, Thorndale to downtown. Outbound 31. And around Central, there's some high water partly blocking the entrance ramp. Stevenson, delay starting at Lamont Road, now 43 minutes, 3:55 to Lakeshore Drive. Ryan is 27 minutes, 95th to downtown. Bishop Ford, 25 minutes, 80-94 to the Ryan. Traffic at the service of Amtrak. Once-in-a-lifetime journeys depart daily. See where the train can take you. Travel through history on Amtrak and get 20% off with Saver Fares. On the train, take scenic photos from panoramic windows with views that are expansive and seats that are too. Find saver fares at Amtrak.com. Amtrak, see where the train can take you. Restrictions apply. Traffic answers when you need them most. I'm Jim Talamonte on AM 560, The Answer.
Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. Your official Chicagoland weather forecast. From the AirComfort.com Weather Center, here is our meteorologist, Kevin Snyder.
Today, breezy with occasional rain and drizzle, high 49. Spotty drizzle this evening, otherwise clouds tonight with a low 40. Cloudy in the morning tomorrow, then clouds and sun for the afternoon, high 54. I'm Kevin Snyder on AM 560. The Answer.
Currently, rain and 43. Next news, 6:30. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560. The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Real Estate Live with Andrew Holmes. Get honest answers to your questions every Sunday at 12 noon.
Good morning. Welcome to your Thursday morning briefing. Here's what you need to know to start your day.
Today, I'm very proud and very humbled and honored to announce that I have accepted Senator Ted Cruz's offer to be his vice president for the Republican nomination.
America First will be the major and overriding theme of my administration.
This speech, I thought he hit it out of the ballpark.
I wish Mr. Hastert had been called on the carpet in 1968, and we'd all be better for it. This is imperfect, but it's what we got.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Good morning, Dan and Amy. So yesterday in D.C., Trump gave his first foray into foreign policy, major speech on foreign policy. This is the start of Trump becoming a more presidential candidate, for lack of a better description. He was telepromptered.
Really? That was a telepromptered speech?
Well, it
didn't feel like that watching it back in the comfort of my home.
I think there was a little bit of extemporaneous speaking to go along with the telepromptered speech. There's no question about that. He had to get some of his Trumpisms in. But for those who watched the speech or read the accounts, how did it sit with you? 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line, 64636DA, turnkey.pro text line. He essentially laid out, I mean, this is Pat Buchanan's 1992 primary against George Herbert Walker Bush realized. That's what the Trump candidacy is. Bill Galston in the Wall Street Journal yesterday referred to Trump as a mercantilist isolationist. I think that is spot on. Now, we'll have to define for a lot of people what a mercantilist is. But
yes, can I please help a sister out?
Somebody who uses government. The short of it is use government regulation to create wealth. And a key feature of mercantilism, high tariffs. Which Trump has certainly flirted with rhetorically through the course of the campaign. But yesterday, he laid out his vision for America's role in the world, an America First foreign policy. Here's Trump.
We went from mistakes in Iraq to Egypt to Libya to President Obama's line in the sand in Syria. Each of these actions have helped to throw the region into chaos and gave ISIS the space it needs to grow and prosper. Very bad. It all began with the dangerous idea that we could make Western democracies out of countries that had no experience or interest in becoming a Western democracy. We're getting out of the nation-building business and instead focusing on creating stability in the world. America First will be the major and overriding theme of my administration.
Ooh.
Well, there's
speaking in broad terms, where do you want to start?
Well, there's a lot there, actually, and I would say that a lot I agree with. And there's been some criticism of the speech saying, well, you say on the one hand, no nation building, and the other hand, you're going to bring stability to the world. You heard that right at the end of that clip. And people saying, well, that's inconsistent. No, not necessarily. You don't have to be in the business of, as Donald Trump said, trying to create civic institutions in places that have never had Western-style civic institutions in places that have never had them, and still be in the business of trying to bring stability to the world. But there were other contradictory moments in the speech. I thought generally, though, here's the thing with foreign policy speeches. I mean, you can pick them apart. You could pick Reagan's foreign policy speeches, Barack Obama's certainly, and you just heard some of Trump doing that right there, and effectively so, on point. It's more about kind of direction. The themes that there wasn't an overriding theme to Trump's speech other than "Make America Great." It was "Make America Great" overlaid on foreign policy. That's essentially what the speech was. No foreign entanglements, channeling George Washington. The focus on making America strong, because a stronger America it provides more, it puts America in a better position to provide global leadership. Making other people pay to play, so to speak, right? Making them carry their share of the weight with these multinational, multilateral organizations like NATO. He also talked about trade. Called NAFTA a total disaster that's destroyed American jobs. So, if you're a free trader, if you think our trading partners are important, that could be cause for concern. But it was lines like this where he wondered, I should say, kind of openly, why American politicians care more about defending the borders of other countries than the U.S. border. So, it was kind of one of those, it's an international speech, but it has a domestic angle because Trump is hyper-focused on domestic politics. That's where he's more comfortable in terms of the tonality of his remarks. This is trying to make overtures in the arena of international affairs, but still maintaining a domestic focus. I thought, frankly, for what he's trying to accomplish, it was a pretty good speech. It was a pretty good speech. And frankly, I'm not alone among Trump skeptics who said, pretty good speech. Bob Corker, who's the chairman of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, he went on with Mr. Tingle up his leg or down his leg or whichever direction
Chris
on
Matthews,
his leg.
yes.
Yeah. And do we have the Corker bite? He, where's Bob Corker? Well, I don't know where the Corker bite is, but Bob Corker was one. He thought he was very pleased with Trump's remarks. He also, we also got response from General Barry McCaffrey, former drug czar, to what Trump had to say, and he comes to the table as a Trump skeptic, as he describes.
Mr. Trump, over the last year, has said some of the most irresponsible, inane statements on foreign policy, defense policy that I have ever heard in public life. This speech, I thought he hit it out of the ballpark. Now, there's some things you can argue about, but from a domestic political viewpoint, I think it was very powerful, very sensible. The Saudis are going to like what they heard, the Egyptians, the Russians, maybe the Chinese. So I thought he did a tremendous job. And I think the notion of him being the junkyard dog that arrives in Washington is the one that's been propelling him to popularity. This tended to mute that and say, hey, wait a minute, I'm a person of peace and I understand what I'm doing. So I thought it was a very significant presentation.
So that's General Barry McCaffrey on it. And Senate Foreign Relations Chairman Bob Corker echoed some of those sentiments.
I was very pleased with what I heard. I thought it was a great step in the right direction. I thought it was full of substance. I thought it laid out a vision for America. Obviously, some details need to be filled in, but I thought it was very, very good and was pleased at what he had to say.
I mean, then he had the section with Russia that, outreaching to Russia, wants to ease of tensions, but promised Americans that he would never put our troops in harm's way.
I will never send our finest into battle unless necessary, and I mean absolutely necessary, and will only do so if we have a plan for victory with a capital V.
Which every presidential candidate says. I mean, he went on to add to that, I'll not hesitate to deploy military force when there is no alternative, but when America fights, it must only fight to win. Now, that does distinguish him from this administration, but remember, as much as some Trump supporters would like to believe, we're still in the primary process, so does it distinguish him from Ted Cruz? Krauthammer on Fox News said essentially it was kind of Rand Paulish in tone, but not as philosophically consistent as you would get from a Rand Paul.
It was remarkably, he gives a speech that's now written and that he reads off a teleprompter, that it is wandering and meandering and incoherent as when he speaks off the cuff. I thought that the purpose of the speech was to give it a theme and a frame. We saw one of the statements there, but even the statement he gave is contradictory. If we're out of the business of building nations, meaning sustaining them after we go in, how do you produce stability? If you aren't in a region, it'll become unstable. It becomes unstable. We have no control. He complains about Iran's advances in the region, but unless you've got a presence in there, unless you want to be active in there, unless you're looking to something larger than the narrowest nationalism, you're going to have to be involved. So at the one hand, it was sort of semi-isolationist, a bit like Rand Paul, respectable, but I don't think mainstream among conservatives. On the other hand, I think it wasn't consistent in that he put forward a lot of objectives that require intervention.
Well, right, and with respect to ISIS specifically, since this is one of the foreign policy,
it's one of our enemies.
Well, right, and this is one of the kind of pressing foreign policy matters. Of course, he essentially is resuscitating George Kennan's policy of containment, which isn't much different than the Obama administration's approach. Kind of keep them in their base camps and make it somebody else's problem. I thought the overture to Russia, that he's willing to kind of deal with people, at least people that have been complimentary to him.
But he never mentioned the crisis in Ukraine, never mentioned what the Russians have done to the people in Ukraine. And that's the thing. They did a poll this morning. CNN had a reporter in Russia who said Russians absolutely love Donald Trump. And anyone from G20 countries, they love Hillary Clinton and are horrified of Donald Trump. But they did a survey, and that's what they came up with, and that Russia's thing.
Love Hillary Clinton,
yes.
Maybe a reach, but
if there was a choice between Hillary Clinton and Trump, Hillary beat him by a landslide.
Well, the Russians seem to like a strong man. That's clear.
Oh yeah, they do.
But it's interesting. So the policy of containment on ISIS, very similar to this administration's policy. The Russian reset, which is essentially what Trump was suggesting, very similar to what Hillary Clinton did as Secretary of State.
But she was unsuccessful. She couldn't find the button. She talked about the button, but never pressed it.
Chip in St. Charles, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Being an isolationist, they will complain that Trump doesn't care about the human rights of some of these people in these other countries. But then, of course, Barack Obama didn't care about the human rights of these people in these other countries either. And you can use, like, what's going on in North Carolina as an example. They're attacking them for their transgender bathroom thing, whereas in Egypt, they're jailing people and killing them for being homosexual. And the Obama administration does nothing about it. So Trump's A-OK with me, and I hope he wins.
Thanks for the call, Chip. Eric in Milton.
Hey, guys. I just want to say it's the same old generalization by Donald Trump. I watched every single debate there is, and he didn't sound any different last night. And I think we should be talking more about Carly Fiorini's awesome speech last night about getting back to the Constitution, returning the power from the corrupt, crony capitalist government back to the people. Donald Trump's a joke. Thanks
for the call, Eric. That's another question, too. Are we supposed to take Donald Trump more seriously after the speech, or do you? John in Naperville.
Hey, I think this is a stark contrast of why business is so successful in things and government is an utter failure. Trump is applying a very key business principle to why he's winning. The American voter is a very ignorant voter who's emotionally based. Same thing with buying a product. Nobody's going to really do the research on these things. They're just going to go with emotion. And Trump has tapped into that emotion, and he's using that. And that's why I think he's doing so successful.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point, John. Thanks for the call.
It's news, opinion, insight. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Hate to say it, a pretty yucky, miserable day out there. It's going to be breezy, chilly, occasional rain and drizzle throughout the day. A high only in the upper 40s. Tonight into the 30s we go. And for your big fun Friday, cool, cloudy in the morning, then clouds and some sun if we're lucky by the afternoon. A high of 54 degrees. Let's get the travel times. Any standing water on the roadways? Here's Jim Telemonte.
Thanks, Amy. There's some water, and yucky's a good word for traffic, too, especially on the eastbound Adams Tollway. There was an earlier crash near Bussey, and it's still really slow going from around 53 to Toohey, and then also around the River Road Toll going on to the Kennedy, where the travel time from O'Hare to downtown is 24 minutes, outbound 22. Inbound Edens has a 2-minute delay from Peterson to the junction. It's wet, but otherwise okay outbound. Inbound Eisenhower now 42 minutes, Thorndale to the post office, outbound 32. Stevenson 44 minutes, 355 to Lakeshore Drive, outbound fine at 34. Ryan is 27 minutes, 95th to downtown. I-57 30 minutes, I-80 to the merge, Bishop Ford 25. Northbound Tri-State heavy from the Reagan Tollway to 290. Jim Talamonte in the Guardian Security Services Traffic Center.
The following is a paid political announcement.
They're made, bought, and we pay the price. Sellout politicians like Congressman Todd Young. Special interests and Mitch McConnell have spent $1 million buying Young a promotion to the Senate. He owes them, not us. Young does as he's told. He voted to raise the debt limit over $2 trillion and voted to fund Obamacare and Obama's amnesty plan. Say no to Congressman Young. We don't need another sellout in Washington. When did Republicans lose their backbone, their guts, their conviction? Some will say they stood up to Obama. That's easy. But who stood up to their own party? That's Marlin Stutzman. Marlin voted against John Boehner, fought sweetheart deals on both sides, and even wrote his own federal budget that actually balances. Marlin knows when Republicans bend, America breaks. Stand strong, Marlin. Conservative Marlin Stutzman for Senate.
I'm Marlin Stutzman, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Stutzman for Senate.
Air Filter Engineers, how can we help you?
Hi, I'm Mike, Chief Engineer at the big building on South Wabash. I wanted to let you know that ever since I started using your company to provide my air filters, everything's been great. We have less people calling in sick because of the improved air quality, energy bills have gone down, and your customer service and deliveries have been excellent. You guys really make my job easier.
We try hard, Mike. Is there anything we can help you with today?
No, it's just that my mother told me not to say anything unless I have something good to say. This is the first time I've been able to speak today.
Ah, it's 4 o'clock.
I know. Thanks for listening.
New local businesses get their first order delivered free when they mention AM 560. Minimum order supply, 630-384-0400. That's 630-384-0400. Or find them online at filterexperts.com. That's filterexperts.com. Air Filter Engineers, providing Chicagoland with cleaner air.
This is Eric Metaxas. You know I consider a college education important, but for many, leaving home to go off to college is not feasible, which is why I'm excited to tell you about Liberty University's online programs. Right now, more than 95,000 students around the world are enjoying the same quality education as Liberty's residential students in Lynchburg, Virginia. Liberty is consistently ranked among the top 10 online universities and offers hundreds of degrees. Liberty's online classes are taught in flexible, virtual classrooms by engaging and challenging professors. I know some of them. I've had them on my show. For them, teaching is more than a job, it's a calling. If you're looking for an affordable, quality college education without leaving home, check out Liberty's online programs. Just dial pound 250 on your cell and say the keywords Liberty University. Secure your education from the world's largest Christian university without leaving home. Dial pound 250 right now and say the keywords Liberty University.
AM 560, The Answer.
Dan and Amy, so yesterday while Ted Cruz was rolling out Carly Fiorina as his VP select, Bobby Knight was stumping for Trump.
What did you say, Trump knighted?
Yes.
Trump's white knight. Yeah,
United.
Cruz and Carly, and then Trump and Knight.
So the general comes back to Indiana for Donald Trump, and he came back with a flourish, several flourishes.
Was he wearing the red sweater?
He was.
Oh, yeah, of course he was. He doesn't take that thing off.
Do you agree with Bobby Knight's assessment of Donald Trump? Listen to this.
You folks are taking a look at the most prepared man in history to step in as President of the United States. That man right there.
Didn't it sound like he was crying? And it looked like he was on the verge of tears.
By the way, just to be specific, he was referring to Trump.
Right. Yeah.
I just wanted to make that clear because it's such an incredible statement. The most prepared man in history to assume the presidency, Donald Trump. I'm not even sure some Trump supporters could bring themselves to agree with that statement. I mean, maybe Knight was engaging in a little Trumpian hyperbole.
No, he would never do that.
For the occasion.
No, come on, Dan.
I love seeing Bobby Knight again. I'm a big Bobby Knight fan.
Oh, yes, you were. Were you kissing your television or your computer screen when you saw Bobby Knight?
I'm not that big a fan. But there were some rather bizarre moments from the general. Not that he's not prone to bizarre moments, but...
Did they hug it out?
Listen to this. Very, very complimentary of Trump supporters. I mean, very complimentary.
You people, if you will do that, if you will get us started on the road, I'm going to tell you what's going to happen to you. They're going to take all you people, what you did to give us Donald Trump, they're going to take all you people, and they're going to put you right next to our founding fathers and George Washington. That's what the hell they're going to do with you people.
Hello?
And you will be responsible for the shift that America will make into what we want America to be if you will vote for Donald Trump.
So I assume he means historians, are going to take Trump supporters and remember them
for their great accomplishments
like we
supporting
remember
Donald Trump.
Like we remember the Founding Fathers.
Yeah. Possibly, and I know he's your childhood hero.
Ooh, boy.
I hate to ask you, possibly a little bit of dementia setting in. I mean, just maybe.
No, I don't think so. I think Knight's still pretty spry at 76.
God, he's 76.
I just
Denny Hastert, 74. Who looks better?
I don't even know how to respond to that question. Just like I don't really know how to respond to what the general had to say about Trump and his supporters yesterday.
Listen to podcasts of Dan and Amy from the AM 560 mobile app. Download it today at 560theanswer.com/mobile. Running a business is tough these days. From a president who claimed it
You didn't build that. Somebody else made that happen.
to the mountains and mountains of taxes and regulations here in Illinois. But many companies, big and small, have persevered, serving their customers and communities. If that's you and your business, then AM 560 The Answer wants to celebrate your success and tell your story. It's the AM 560 Business Tour 2016, presented by Signature Bank. This spring, Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson will be broadcasting live from businesses in Illinois with success stories of overcoming the odds and thriving in spite of the challenging business environment. If your company fits this description, then we want to know about it so we can consider broadcasting from your location. Tell us your story. Visit 560theanswer.com/business and submit your information. That's 560theanswer.com/business. Sponsored in part by Flex Execs Management Solutions.
Mother's Day, Father's Day, literally right around the corner. If you thought, what should I get him? What would make me stand out this year? What would make me different than my siblings? Get him a pillow from MyPillow. Give him the gift of a great night's sleep. MyPillow conforms to your neck and back. It helps with chronic back pain, neck pain. If you have insomnia, allergies, snoring, give it a try. If it gets dirty, you can just throw it in the washer and dryer. You don't have to dry clean it. There's a 60-day full money-back guaranteed, and it's American made. It's also the official pillow of the National Sleep Foundation. And right now, if you buy one, guess what? You'll get one free at the 2-for-1 offer. Simply go to mypillow.com. Use Amy, AMY, in that promo code box up to the left-hand screen of your computer. 2 pillows for the price of one. Or go old school and call the 800 number, 800-489-0201, 800-489-0201. Why not give the gift of a great night's sleep this Mother's Day and Father's Day? You can get one for mom and dad and keep one for yourself. MyPillow.com, promo code Amy, or 800-489-0201. Coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Michael Rubin from the American Enterprise Institute joins us to dissect Donald Trump's foreign policy speech at 6:36.
But first, into the newsroom we go. Here is Mike Scott.
Amy and Dan, 42 clouds right now, but some light rain has been falling most of the morning, and another embarrassing failure for North Korea. South Korea's defense ministry says the North launched a powerful intermediate-range missile, but it crashed moments after liftoff. Democratic presidential candidate Bernie Sanders planning to lay off hundreds of campaign workers. Sanders telling the New York Times he's cutting back on staff to focus on winning California. Ted Cruz names Carly Fiorina his running mate. Fiorina, the former CEO of Hewlett-Packard and an unsuccessful presidential candidate this year. Campaigning in Indiana, Cruz says Fiorina knows how to create jobs.
My opponent in this race, Donald Trump, like Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders, looks to government as the answer to every problem.
Republican presidential frontrunner Trump is dismissing Cruz's election in Indianapolis last night. Trump says Cruz is now desperate to stay in the race.
2 days ago, it was Kasich. They were going to form an alliance, and they were going to collude, and they were going to get together. And then all of a sudden, Kasich didn't live up to his side of the deal, and they're fighting with each other, and now he's doing the Carly thing. I just don't see it.
Next week, Indiana holds its presidential primary. There is an outbreak of mumps reported at Eastern Illinois University, impacting about a dozen students so far. Former U.S. House Speaker Dennis Hastert sentenced Wednesday to 15 months in prison for breaking federal banking rules in a scheme to cover up sexual abuse. Before imposing that sentence, District Judge Thomas Durkin spent nearly an hour Wednesday rebuking the 74-year-old Republican for the sex abuse that extends back decades. National Weather Service confirms at least 3 tornadoes touched down in central Illinois as storms moved across the Midwest yesterday. And a dog that was shot and left tied to a bridge in eastern Illinois is improving this morning. Fort County Sheriff Mark Doran tells us a man walking his own dog near Sibley found that dog on April 20th. Doran says the lab mix was tied to a high spot on the bridge so he could barely touch his paws to the ground. And that mouth of the mouth of that dog was duct tape closed. He had been shot with his shotgun, had a broken jaw. But again, this morning, Bear is improving. Chicago sports, White Sox over Toronto 4-0. Milwaukee and the Cubs wiped out because of rain. And the news is a service of TimeshareExitTeam.com. The only thing worse than being stuck is being stuck in a timeshare. Get out now safely and legitimately with Timeshare Exit Team. They'll get you out or get you a full refund. 855-MY-EXIT-TEAM, 855-MY-EXIT-TEAM. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Sean Hannity can read between the lines.
There is a strategy that has emerged among all of these prominent Republicans that they want to bring in a white knight candidate, an outsider. They want another person. And you want to know why? Because if you're a Cruz supporter, they think you're stupid. If you're a Trump supporter, they think you're stupid.
The Sean Hannity Show. Afternoons at 2, right before Joe Walsh at 5 on AM 560. The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Papa Nicholas Coffee. Papa Nicholas Coffee, a family tradition since 1897.
Mother's Day is next week, and Pro Flowers is offering an amazing special. 100 stunning blooms for mom, plus a free glass vase for $19.99. Go to proflowers.com and enter the secret code 3838. But hurry, this deal expires this Friday. 100 colorful blooms for mom for $19.99 plus a free glass vase. The only way to get this amazing deal is to go to proflowers.com. Click on the blue microphone in the upper right corner and enter the secret code 3838.
Shipping charges not included. Satisfaction guaranteed or your money back.
Are you retirement ready? The start of 2016 was the worst start ever on Wall Street. Listen to Grow My Retirement Saturday at 2 p.m. with Bill Geiger, Chicago's retirement planning advisor, and learn the secrets Wall Street doesn't want you to know about retirement. Bill helps you understand tough retirement issues and the steps to help you create a retirement income you can't outlive, no matter the market conditions. Grow My Retirement with Bill Geiger, Chicago's retirement planning advisor. Saturday at 2 on AM 560. The Answer.
6:36 in our Guardian Security Services Traffic Center. Here is Jim Talamonte.
Thanks, Mike. The eastbound Adams Tollway has heavy delays from Arlington Heights Road to the River Road Toll. Those delays continue on the Kennedy to around Foster. It's 29 minutes O'Hare to downtown, outbound 26. Mount Eden's 25 minutes Lake Hook to the junction, outbound 19. The Eisenhower, 45 minutes Thorndale to downtown, outbound 33. Inbound Stevenson jammed LaGrange Road to Kedzie, 55 minutes, 355 to Lakeshore Drive, 40 from the Tri-State, outbound 34 minutes to 355. Ryan is 30 minutes, 95th to downtown, I-57, 30 minutes, I-80 to the merge, issue 425. Traffic is a service of CiCi's Pizza. Ready for an adventure and flavor? CiCi's brings 3 new flatbread pizzas to the unlimited buffet. Try the new Spinach Alfredo, Chicken Bacon Club, and Honey Barbecue Chicken. More flavor to explore for the same great value, just $5 and change. Only at CiCi's. Better, believe it. Traffic answers when you need them most. With Jim Talamonte. AM 560, The Answer.
Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. Your official Chicagoland weather forecast. From the AirComfort.com Weather Center, breezy, chilly, rain and drizzle throughout the day. High 49, 43 right now. Next news at 7. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Turnkey IT, giving you the freedom to focus on your business while they handle the technical stuff. Turnkey IT.
You want more than just the headlines? Find out what's going on and what it means with me, Dennis Prager, this morning at 11, right here on AM 560, The Answer.
Good morning, Dan and Amy.
Yes, we be here.
Is that Ozzy Osbourne?
You know what? Don't ask me.
Yeah, it is.
You know what? I have an answer for you here on The Answer. It is Ozzy Osbourne.
Yeah. Interesting. I think it's a pretty good choice. Donald Trump did everything but bite the head off a bat in his foreign policy speech yesterday in terms of meandering around the world, offering his takes. There were some, I think, kind of key points, if not an overriding theme to what he had to say. I mentioned when we were talking about it previously, it seemed fairly clear that he wants to extend the Obama approach to ISIS, which is sort of a neo-policy of containment. I think he wants to, in the great tradition of George Washington, resist foreign entanglements. I think he wants to have a Russian reset because Vlad Putin said nice things about him, and that's
they seem to actually like each other.
That's an extension of the Hillary foreign policy.
This seems to be taking a different tone.
Well, it's a different tone because I think it's two strongmans who apparently have a begrudging respect for one another, whereas Hillary is just, feckless, craven leftist. So that's not terribly surprising. And he also talked in the mercantilist lingo of protectionism without using that phraseology. But in terms of what the takeaways are, that he wants to focus on building America, so America can be a stronger America, means a more stable world, means an America that has more resources to induce stability in the world. There's a lot of people, including people that are Trump critics, Senate Foreign Relations Committee Chairman Bob Corker, former General Barry McCaffrey, former drug czar, saying nice things about what Trump had to say, kind of a warming to Trump that has been going on for the last couple of weeks, certainly since the New York primary. But for an expert perspective on this, we're now happy to be joined by Michael Rubin. He's a resident scholar at the American Enterprise Institute, and he's also a former Pentagon official who developed an expertise in Middle East, Turkey, and Iranian policy and diplomacy more generally. Michael Rubin, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for having me, Dan.
So your impressions of Donald Trump's remarks yesterday?
Well, first, from a broad brush, he needed to articulate a vision rather than just shoot from the hip. And in that, he succeeded. Unfortunately, while he was painting with a broad brush, at the same time, he simply got a lot of the details wrong. I mean, you talked about protectionism. He had said NAFTA, as an example, has been a total disaster for the United States and emptied our states, literally emptied our states of manufacturing and jobs. But when you look at the stats, on January 1st, 1994, when NAFTA went into effect, there were 16.8 million jobs, and labor force participation was more than 66%. 6 years later, in December 2000, manufacturing had actually increased to 7.2 million, and labor force participation had gone up by 67%. Unemployment had been halved. That was under NAFTA. Now, in the next year, 2001, it plummeted. And when you want to look at what happened in 2001, and following, it was actually having China accede to the World Trade Organization. And so when Donald Trump is talking now about making nice to China and so forth, maybe he's getting the reason why manufacturing jobs fled wrong.
And previously he talked about pulling out of NATO, and then yesterday he talked about rebuilding NATO and changing its mission. So do we believe what he said yesterday or what he said 2 months ago?
Well, Amy, I think he's trying to walk back a little bit the issue about the defensive alliance, but when he talks about how we need to make sure that our allies are pulling their weight, every now and then this is inserted into the debate, but this is actually nothing new. There was something to this effect in Don Rumsfeld's, former Secretary of Defense Don Rumsfeld's Old Europe and New Europe comments. If we go back to the 60s and 70s, the Speaker of the Majority Leader of the Senate talked about pivoting away from Europe because of NATO, it wasn't pulling its weight, and pushing things into the Middle East. And if we go back even further, I'm a historian nerd, and so I'm always looking through these dusty documents. I was reading one last night from January 52, a diplomatic cable about Turkey's accession into NATO, and Turkey's biggest complaint was you had all these European countries not pulling their weight in the alliance. So this is something that goes that percolates from time to time, and it can be a healthy discussion so long as we don't turn our back on NATO and recognize it was because of NATO that we won the Cold War.
Seems to be some inconsistencies with what Trump had to say. I don't mean to nitpick, but these are kind of important distinctions.
Oh, yeah.
Trump said a Trump administration will lead a free world that is properly armed and funded beautifully, which is the best way to fund something. And but then he went on to say, our friends are beginning to think they can't depend on us. We had a president who dislikes our friends and bows to our enemies. And he kind of went on that track. So on the one hand, it's, hey, our friends are going to be able to count on us, and we're not going to confuse our friends for our enemies. On the other hand, he's saying, hey, you guys have to pull your weight, and we're kind of pulling back. So mixed messages to our allies?
Well, Dan, and you forgot that for both enemies and friends, remember, we're going to be as unpredictable as possible. That's what he was concluding on.
Right.
It was a doctrine of unpredictability, and on one hand, that can be valuable. On the other hand, there's only so far unpredictability will go in this world. And one of the other issues which he brought up is in condemning the Iran deal. And in saying that Iran under no circumstances would be allowed to get nuclear weapons, but he doesn't go into what he would do given that the Iran deal is now fact. I don't like the Iran deal. He doesn't like the Iran deal. But simply getting up on the stage and saying this was the worst negotiated agreement ever, that may be the case, doesn't solve the problem. How are you going to prevent Iran from getting nuclear weapons, especially when you're saying that you don't want to use your military willy-nilly?
And what about this bromance with Putin? I mean, yesterday he talked about an outreach to Russia. Is outreach now a new foreign policy maneuver?
Well, I don't know where this trend comes from, Amy. I mean, we had George W. Bush looking into Putin's eyes and seeing his soul. We had the reset with Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, and at each and every opportunity, Putin has simply taken advantage of us. There's a great book out there by Garry Kasparov, who's a former chess grandmaster, one of the most famous Russian oppositionists, in which he talks about Russia as being the greatest threat that the world now faces. And he says all this nonsense that's put out there by American politicians that perhaps we haven't been generous enough to Russia is bunk, because when you consider the end of the Cold War, we didn't demand reparations. Instead, we demanded that all the other post-Soviet states give up their nuclear weapons so that Russia became the predominant power. Plus, we gave billions and billions of dollars in aid to Russia. So this nonsense that we haven't embraced Russia, it's just wrong, and Russia has taken advantage of it at every single opportunity. Putin comes from a KGB background, and we need to recognize that he doesn't love the United States. He wants to defeat it.
Overall, if you kind of read through his speech or listen to his speech, it's a bit of a meatball Sunday, isn't it? He talks in the parlance of his domestic agenda, which is the mercantilist kind of domestic agenda, kind of rebuilding America, making America great through with a government-centric approach to doing so. And America First is literally what he said, borrowing from the Buchanan Brigades from 2 decades ago. But then he talks a little bit like a neocon. And then there's a little bit of, like a George W. Bush foreign policy flack. And then there's a little bit of an extension of the Obama-Clinton foreign policy thrown in. There's a little bit of everything.
Well, and this hypocrisy was also a bit on display when he talks about the Iraq War as the biggest mistake ever. And look, I think the Iraq War was a good idea. I disagree with nation building, and so I agree with Donald Trump on that. But to then have Zalmay Khalilzad, one of the biggest proponents and biggest actors in the whole Iraq War, be his introducer, That also raised eyebrows, at least in Washington, right. Because here you say, I want nothing to do with the people that advocated for the Iraq War, and then get introduced by and seemingly endorsed by the man who was who was the key National Security Council aide on the Iraq War. You know, when people talk about the foreign policy now, they talk about it as almost a throwback to what we were seeing in the 1930s with sort of neo-isolationism and trade protectionism. That didn't necessarily work in our favor in the 1930s, at least in trade. It's not going to work in our favor now, but certainly Donald Trump has succeeded in being unpredictable and keeping our allies and our adversaries both on edge.
Speaking about the foreign policy folks around Donald Trump, there were some names released a few weeks back. One of them I respect. We've had him on the show a number of times. I think he's a pretty thoughtful guy, pretty experienced guy, Waleed Phares. And I don't know how much influence he had on this speech, but do you have any sense of kind of the foreign policy experts, the professional diplomats that are around Donald Trump influencing some of what we heard yesterday?
Well, I share your assessment of Waleed Phares, and what I had told National Review is when he announced 5 names, and one of them, Waleed Phares, is a great guy, really knows what he's doing. If you're batting 200, you're not going to get into the Hall of Fame. 1 out of 5 is bad. Now, the thing is, he had other aides who really had no experience, who put on their CVs that their chief diplomatic experience was doing Model United Nations in college. That's not the way to go forward. Now, seemingly, he has Zalmay Khalilzad around him. He has the Center for National Interest, which sort of looks at itself as almost a Nixonian foreign policy think tank. So it seems that he's slowly but surely gathering people around him. The question is, number one, is he going to be a president that's shooting from the hip? Is he going to be listening to his aides? And number two, remember, as soon as he becomes president, he's going to need to fill 3,000 or 4,000 political positions. And is he going to be able to find the expertise among supporters to do that? That's an open question.
So bottom line, do you think he can understand complex international issues, and do you trust him more after hearing that speech?
Amy, I can't say I trust him more. I want to hear more than one data point. I want to hear several more speeches, and I want to hear not just declarations of what he wants to do, but I want to hear the details about how he goes about doing it, and that's what was sorely lacking. It was a good speech for general broad brush philosophy. It was a bad speech for substance and details.
All right, he's Michael Rubin, resident scholar at the American Enterprise Institute. By the way, you want to read more of Michael Rubin's musings, you should pick up his book, Dancing with the Devil, The Perils of Engaging Rogue Regimes. Michael, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Hey, thanks, Dan. Thanks, Amy.
And he joined us on our Turnkey.pro answer line.
There's only one radio show in Chicago talking about today's biggest stories and telling you what they really mean. That show is this one, Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer.
Coming up next, the DEA is now investigating Prince's death. We'll explain. But first, here's your forecast. Breezy, chilly, just one of those gray and gross days that you want to crawl back in bed because it's going to be rain, drizzle on and off throughout the day. A high only in the upper 40s. Then tonight, back into the 30s we go. Ouch. And then tomorrow, Friday, Dan Proff's birthday and also Arbor Day. It's going to be cool, cloudy in the morning, sunny in the afternoon so Dan can plant that tree he's been wanting to plant, and a high of 54 degrees. Any cars planted on the roadways? Here's Jim Talamonte.
All right, Amy, thanks. Gardening tools are in the mail for Dan. Eastbound Adams Tollway, traffic is still jammed from Arlington Heights Road to the River Road Toll and beyond, with delays continuing on the inbound Kennedy to around Central. And then again from Kimball to the Burns Circle. It's 35 minutes either way between O'Hare and downtown. The Edens, 30 minutes. Lake Cook to Montrose. Outbound 35 with heavy delays Montrose to Dempster. The Eisenhower is now 1 hour from Thorndale to downtown. 42 minutes from Manheim. Outbound 35 to Thorndale. Stevenson an hour, 3:55 to Lakeshore Drive. The Ryan is 30 minutes, 95th to downtown. Northbound Tri-States, though Archer to LaGrange Road. From the Stevenson to the Hinsdale Oasis. And Roosevelt to North Avenue. Jim Talamonte in the Guardian Security Services Traffic Center.
I'm Lou Dobbs. Facebook first quarter earnings top $1.5 billion. New jobless claims reports out today. McDonald's new menu paying off. Those stories next.
I'm Nick Soboleski, a Select Quote agent with a true story that could save you hundreds of dollars a year. A woman named Linda just called. Her husband, Ray, has a $300,000 group life insurance policy, but is changing jobs and can't take it with him. Well, I impartially shopped the highly rated term life insurance companies we represent and found Ray, who is 41 and takes medication to control his cholesterol, a 10-year, $500,000 policy for for under $26 a month. That's almost twice the coverage for less than half of what he had paid. If SelectQuote hasn't shopped for your life insurance, you're probably paying too much.
For your free quote, call 1-800-431-0848. That's 1-800-431-0848. 1-800-431-0848. Or go to SelectQuote.com. We shop. You save. Get full details on the example policy at SelectQuote.com/commercials. Your price can vary depending on your health insurance company and other factors not available in all states.
Facebook reporting stronger than expected results for its first quarter, prompted by growing numbers of users and higher ad revenue. The social media site earned $1.5 billion. Wall Street investors reacting to the latest report on our gross domestic product and jobless claims and the regular Bloomberg Consumer Comfort Index. Yale University's president fighting a move by Connecticut lawmakers to tax some university buildings. As McDonald's seeks to turn around its business in this country, it first offered 3 different sizes of its signature Big Mac sandwich, and now will add chicken McNuggets with no artificial preservatives. All of these moves helping McDonald's sales rise more than 5% in the first quarter. Please join me for Lou Dobbs tonight at 7 and 11 Eastern on the Fox Business Network. This is the Lou Dobbs Financial Report.
Trust is the single most important factor in hiring a contractor. Dependable Construction and its founder, Joe Baran, built their business over 3 decades by being trustworthy. Tuck pointing, brick, and roofing is Joe's specialty. Joe started as a laborer and progressed to an expert tuck pointer and bricklayer. In addition to masonry and roofing, Joe and Dependable Construction have grown to become a full-service Angie's List and Better Business Bureau award-winning contractor. For brick, masonry, and roofing on residential, commercial, or industrial projects, to any other type of remodeling or construction, you'll deal directly with owner Joe Baran. Call Joe Baran at Dependable Construction and AM560 Feed the Children business benefactor. Mention AM560 and receive a 10% discount on most jobs. Call 773-244-1091. That's 773-244-1091 or visit tuckpointchicago.net. That number again, 773-244-1091.
Hi, I'm Lex Howard, CEO of Balance of Nature. Statistics show that most people will listen to this commercial 7 times before they finally purchase Balance of Nature. Don't be a statistic. Take action to determine your future.
Well, I'm pretty stupid. I should have ordered it 15 years ago. Best thing I ever got in my... It's the most effective product that I've ever bought in my life. Yeah, I tell everyone to get it. But, everyone gives you a wise answer. Oh, just eat good food. Well, how are you going to eat 15 fruits and whatever? Unless you lived on a farm.
I'm doing well. I definitely have more energy, and there's a big improvement.
Begin giving your body the fruits and vegetables it needs every day. Accept and complete Dr. Howard's 120-day health challenge to earn a free month supply of Balance of Nature. Call 1-800-2468-751. That's 1-800-2468-751. Or go online to balanceofnature.com. Use promo code CHICAGO.
AM 560, The Answer.
My guy Prince, I know everybody's been hearing rumors and allegations that he was addicted to pain pills. Well, apparently the sheriff in Minnesota has now enlisted the help of the DEA because when he was found in the elevator, he had pain pills on his person in his pocket. And they also found a bunch of pain pills in his medicine cabinet. Apparently he was having problems with his hips because of all the jumping and the splits over the years. It
Tell
was
me about
chronic pain. I mean, you have the similar condition, right?
That's right. I mean, you got to stretch. That's what I tried to tell Prince. You got to stretch before the concerts.
And also, too, his bank is now taking over his estate until they get things settled because it's a bit of a hot mess. Yesterday, he had 6 half-siblings. Today, Dan, it's back to 5.
By the way, Prince being addicted to painkillers, his drug dealer saying $40,000 worth of painkillers every 6 months. Worst kept secret in rock and roll.
World, say hello to my 9 little friends. Remember us? We used to spend a lot of time with you, but that was before I got nail fungus. Yeah, nail fungus. I know, embarrassing, right? But what was a big toe like me supposed to do, eh? We tried doctors, took pills, creams, even considered surgery, but with that I could lose my nail, and there's still no guarantee that the fungus won't come back. Then I tried Clear Touch. Clear Touch is a little handheld device you use at home. Clear Touch is painless because it uses light, light, to travel fast and deep. All that time in hiding and this simple solution was right there at Clear Touch? Well, Clear Touch is even cleared by the FDA because it's safe and works. So if you're hiding your little friends, get Clear Touch. Now listen to the man. Call 800-278-7144. That's 800-278-7144. That's 800-278-7144 or cleartouchnails.com.
On AM 560 The Answer, we talk about the important issues that affect your world. Things like the economy, education, and foreign policy. There's always so much going on in the news that we don't always have the time to drill down and talk about the big ideas behind the big issues. That's where Upstream Ideas comes in. Upstream Ideas, online at upstream-ideas.com, in partnership with the Illinois Opportunity Project, provides the kind of information that informs the policy discussions happening here on AM 560. At Upstream Ideas, you'll broaden the debate, move beyond partisan assumptions, and challenge accepted orthodoxies. In other words, Upstream Ideas goes against the current and thinks upstream. Go online now to upstream-ideas.com. That's upstream-ideas.com. You'll be armed with new information and fresh perspectives to spur you on to make the state of Illinois and the United States of America a bit more free, a bit more just, and a bit more civilized. Upstream-ideas.com.
You know, most people think when the stock market falls, everyone loses money. But guess what? That's not true. There's a select group of people who reap in huge profits even when the market falls. How would you like to know what they know so you can make money in any market condition? Online Trading Academy has just produced a new video called How to Make Money When the Markets Fall. They would like to send you home with this free video when you attend one of their free half-day classes. This will help you understand how to make money when the market is up, down, or sideways. Once you understand how to make money in all kinds of market conditions, everything changes. Stop losing money. Stop losing sleep. Watch this video. Learn what Wall Street doesn't want you to know. Call Online Trading Academy now at 888-601-TRADE. That's 888-601-8723. 888-601-TRADE. Call 888-601-TRADE or online at tradingacademy.com.
Coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
The Carly Cruz ticket, or the Cruz Carly ticket, maybe the other reverse is better. We'll discuss with John McCormick from the Weekly Standard at 7:07.
And then later, when and where will Denny Hastert go to prison? But first, into the newsroom we go. Here is Mike Scott.
Amy and Dan, the governor expresses some optimism about ending the budget crisis. The NFL draft set to begin in Chicago. WIND Chicago News Time, 7 o'clock.
Fox News Radio, I'm Lisa Brady. When she was running for president, Carly Fiorina was a Ted Cruz critic.
He says whatever he needs to say to get elected, and then he's going to do as he pleases.
Now she's his running mate.
In the heat of a political campaign, sometimes you say things that turn out not to be true.
Cruz pinning his hopes on a contested convention. Fox Radio's Rachel Sutherland, live in Washington.
Republican rival Donald Trump calls a Cruz Fiorina announcement a waste of time, telling a Fox News town hall.
Here's a guy picking a vice presidential candidate. He has zero chance. He has no path. It's sort of crazy.
Trump says he's looking at a lot of great people, but wants to get the nomination first. Meanwhile, Trump got the endorsement of legendary Hoosiers coach Bobby Knight just days away from the Indiana primary. Knight said there's never been a more honest politician than Trump. Lisa.
Thanks, Rachel. Also giving his first foreign policy speech yesterday, Trump says he would put America first. Fox Business Network's Blake Berman.
Trump said he would try to ease tensions with Russia, but would know when to potentially walk away from the table. He also said he could work with China, saying they would appreciate his strength. The Republican frontrunner said if he were to become president, ISIS's days would be numbered.
He also says allies should be prepared to defend themselves if they don't pay their fair share for defense. Bernie Sanders not letting up.
With your help, we're going to win here in Indiana next Tuesday.
The campaign officials say he's cutting hundreds of staffers after losing 4 of this week's 5 primaries. After admitting he molested boys as a high school wrestling coach, former House Speaker Dennis Hastert is sentenced to 15 months in prison for the hush money payments that covered it up.
This is imperfect, but it's what we got.
And U.S. Attorney Zachary Fardon says Hastert's legacy is gone, leaving him a humiliated man. A possible opening sell-off on Wall Street. Dow futures are down 139. Fox News Radio, fair and balanced.
Clouds this morning at 7:02, 42 degrees, winds north at 11. I'm Mike Scott on AM 560 The Answer. Even though former U.S. House Speaker Dennis Hastert has been sentenced to 15 months in federal prison, there was a feeling by some after Wednesday's court session that justice wasn't completely served. AM 560's David Stewart picks up that part of the story.
Hastert finally admitted in court that he was paying hush money to cover up the sexual abuse of young men when he was a high school wrestling coach. That and witness testimony about 2 of the victims added to his sentence. But U.S. Attorney Zach Farden admitted frustration that the statute of limitations on the sex crimes had expired.
I wish Mr. Hastert had been called on the carpet in 1968, and we'd all be better for it. This is imperfect, but it's what we got.
Farden said, though, that the case has left Hastert a broken, humiliated man.
That is as it should be.
David Stewart, Chicago.
The National Weather Service confirms 3 tornadoes touched down in central Illinois. Storms moved across the Midwest yesterday. The storms hit Olney and Effingham County's community of Altamont. Governor Rauner says he wants to make up for lost time and perhaps pass a 2-year budget by the end of the regular session on May 31st. The Republican governor's comments on Wednesday came a week after lawmakers reached a rare bipartisan deal to allocate $600 million in short-term aid for colleges. Final exams could be canceled for Chicago public school students if teachers go on strike in late May. Finals are planned for the week of June 13. Chicago sports, White Sox over Toronto 4-0. Milwaukee and the Cubs rained out, and the NFL draft kicks off here in Chicago later today. Thousands of fans flooding the streets, but it will not be in Chicago next year, likely Philly or Los Angeles. The news, a service of Subway, introducing the new Subway carved turkey and bacon sandwich. Their premium carved turkey is thick-cut, all-white meat turkey, oven-roasted to perfection. Fresh is what we do at Subway. 7:04 and a check of traffic and weather next on AM 560.
The battle for the Republican nomination is racing towards the convention this summer in Cleveland.
Nobody is going to have enough delegates. We are going to go to a convention. It's going to be open.
Can Trump be stopped?
The only campaign that has beaten Donald Trump and the only campaign that can beat Donald Trump is this campaign.
Will there be a third-party run?
Donald Trump is a phony, a fraud.
What happens next?
We should make it pretty easily based on what I'm seeing.
Happens here.
So we won't have to worry about fighting at a convention.
This is AM 560. The Answer.
Joe Walsh here, and I want to say thanks to the dozens of businesses that stepped up to become business benefactors for our annual golf outing coming up June 16th at the Bolingbrook Golf Club. This year's outing benefits Operation Support Our Troops America and the great work they do for our military members, their families, and our returning veterans. And if you own or run a business or make marketing decisions for a business, well, you're in luck. We've had a few slots open up for you to become a business benefactor of this year's outing. If you purchase a foursome for $996, we'll turn that into $3,000 of advertising in the form of 25 60-second commercials that will air on AM 560 Monday through Friday between 5 a.m. and 10 p.m. These opportunities are extremely limited. So call Michael Mann today, 847-871-1527. That's 847-871-1527. And tell him you want to become a business benefactor, 847-871-1527, or go to 560theanswer.com/golf.
QL1, this is Control. Ground crew is secure. Over. Copy that, Control. Rockets powering up. Over. QL1, this is Control. Does Rocket Mortgage require me to fill out a bunch of paperwork? Negative, Control. Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans is the first on-demand mortgage machine that quickly and seamlessly imports your financial data. You can go through the entire mortgage approval process in minutes. Copy that, QL1. That is fast, like rocket fast. Do you think that's why they named it Rocket Mortgage? Over. Affirmative, Control. That's probably why they named it Rocket Mortgage. It also works on any internet-ready device, so you can get a Rocket Mortgage at any time or place you choose. Roger that, QL1. So technically speaking, you could get a Rocket Mortgage at rocket speed from inside an actual rocket? Please just press the button, Control. Over. Copy that, QL1. 3, 2, 1. Rocket Mortgage at QuickenLoans.com. Push button. Get mortgage. Rocket.
Visit for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender. Licensed in all 50 states. NMLSConsumerAccess.org number 3030.
7:06 in our Guardian Security Services Traffic Center. A quick look at the roads with Jim Talamonte.
Eastbound Adams Tollway and inbound Canada is very heavy with delays from Arlington Heights Road all the way downtown. 45 minutes from the airport to the Loop, outbound 45 as well. The Edens 30 minutes, Lake Cook to Montrose, outbound 35. The Ike an hour, Thorndale to the Loop, outbound 37 minutes. Stevenson an hour and 5 minutes, 3:55 to Lakeshore Drive. Ryan, 30 minutes, 95th to downtown. That's traffic, AM 560, The Answer.
Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. Your official Chicagoland weather forecast from the AirComfort.com Weather Center. Here's our meteorologist, Kevin Snyder.
A breezy day with gusts up to 30 miles per hour. Occasional rain and drizzle with a high 49. Spotty drizzle for the evening, otherwise cloudy tonight with a low of 40. A cloudy morning with clouds and sun in the afternoon tomorrow with a high of 54 and a low 42. I'm Kevin Snyder on AM 560, The Answer.
42 at O'Hare. Next news coming up at 7:30. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Power Trading Radio. Heard Sundays at 2 p.m. Brought to you each week by Online Trading Academy.
Good morning. Welcome to your Thursday morning briefing. Here's what you need to know to start your day.
Today, I'm very proud and very humbled and honored to announce that I have accepted Senator Ted Cruz's offer to be his vice president for the Republican nomination.
America First will be the major and overriding theme of my administration.
This speech, I thought he hit it out of the ballpark.
I wish Mr. Hastert had been called on the carpet in 1968, and we'd all be better for it. This is imperfect, but it's what we got.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560, The Answer.
What up, Dan and Amy? So, Ted Cruz finally tried to change the trajectory of this race by rolling out his vice presidential partner.
Doesn't it sound like Lagney and Casey, Cruz?
Cagney and Lacey, you mean?
Well, you know, Cruz and Carly. I mean, it just rhymes. It's really...
Cagney and Lacey were both women.
Well...
It's more like...
more like what, Dan?
More like
Donnie Marie?
More like T.J. Hooker. You had William Shatner with like a Heather Locklear.
Oh, yeah.
How about that?
You're digging deep.
Yeah, thank you. So Carly Fiorina accepted the nomination that Ted Cruz offered her. And that was telegraphed about a week ago, actually, when the Cruz campaign publicly
Well, they kind of leaked it, right?
We're vetting Carly for VP. And then they waited to take their beating on Tuesday night in the Acela primary states, which they did, and then interrupted the Washington press corps declaring Trump the nominee yesterday with this rollout. And remember why people like Carly Fiorina so much, why even if you weren't supporting her during her presidential candidacy, you really appreciated her because she performed so well in the debate. And I think it was a vote of acclamation that, boy, would I like to see Carly Fiorina debate Hillary Clinton.
She's a smart, sassy woman who's not afraid to stick it to the man or the woman.
I'm not a political insider. I haven't spent my lifetime running for office. The truth is I've had and been blessed by a lot of opportunities to do a lot of things in my life. And unlike another woman in this race, I actually love spending time with my husband.
Right cross followed by the left uppercut. She's a great combination puncher. She really is. Frankly, she's a much better rhetorician than Ted Cruz is. She is much better framing issues. She's the best that the Republicans had in this contest. And I think she adds a lot of value for Cruz. If Cruz was the front runner, the conservative movement would be ecstatic about this. And probably even a lot of Trump supporters say, well, even if I've got problems with Cruz, I like the Fiorina pick because she is a fighter. She does come from the outside, and she has the intellectual heft to dismantle Hillary Clinton or Hillary Clinton's vice presidential surrogate in a general election. But is it too little too late? Well, let's put that question to our friend John McCormick, senior writer for the Weekly Standard, weeklystandard.com, who joins us now. John, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
So your assessment of both the timing and the selection of Carly Fiorina?
I mean, I think as a vice president, Carly Fiorina is more than equipped for that job. I think during the debate she said that she is very knowledgeable, very poised, and I think that she has a great grasp of the issues. The fact that she is a businesswoman also sort of gives her more of a appeal to moderates. I think that helps with electability. I think a lot of suburbanites have sort of while they dislike Sarah Palin, somebody like Carly Fiorina is just as conservative, probably more conservative in some respects, but she doesn't set off those cultural alarm bells. So I do think that Carly brings a lot to the table. I think it's good to give voters, if Cruz is certain this is what he wanted, it's good to give voters a chance to see what exactly they would get if they chose him, that this is the full package. And, it's up to the good people of Indiana to decide whether or not they want to hand the nomination to Trump or they want to give Cruz and Carly a shot.
But this is such a rare move to pick a running mate before actually winning the nomination. I mean, does this seem like a Hail Mary, like a last-ditch effort to save his campaign, or is it a last-ditch effort to stop Donald Trump?
Or both?
It could be both Hail Marys. I'll note I'm from Wisconsin. The Green Bay Packers completed a couple this year.
Oh, we're going to have to end this conversation.
They beat the Lions once, and they ended up making them Hail Mary in the playoff game, and then losing later on, which still could happen. Cruz could take Indiana and then lose California later on, and it would all be for naught. But I'm sure that obviously, there's a political angle to this. He needs to reset the race. He's down by 6.3 points in Indiana. That was before, all these big losses on the East Coast. But the interesting thing about this race is there really hasn't been momentum until now. I mean, things can change, and you can be surprised. Maybe the bottom really is falling out for Cruz. But, the people in Wisconsin didn't care how the voters in Florida voted. The people in New York didn't care how Republicans in Wisconsin voted. And so why should Indianans care how people in Connecticut voted? That's what Cruz has got to be hoping right now, and hoping that he can pull off a win there.
Sean Trendy in Real Clear Politics had a piece suggesting, kind of looking at the vote totals since the race has winnowed down to the 2 or the 3, and he notes that the Cruz-Kasich vote share is declining a bit, and it suggests that there may be something different happening now, is kind of what you're suggesting, John, that maybe there is a little bit of momentum now, and that the Republican electorate is one of 3 things: coming to terms with Trump, deciding it doesn't like the non-Trump alternatives, or just growing tired of the whole business. And maybe it's a bit of all of the above.
Yeah, and I think the best hope for Cruz is some analysis by Nate Silver at 538.com showing that, the turnout levels were really down in all these East Coast states where, Trump had these big margins, and so maybe the anti-Trump voters, they thought, well, why should I turn out when I know this guy's going to win anyway? Not thinking, well, I should show up so it helps the narrative that Trump only won by 8 points instead of by 30 points. So that could be something. Wisconsin had like a 25% turnout. In some of these states in the East Coast, they had less than 10% turnout. So, that's what Cruz has got to be hoping, is that if Indiana turns out to be a big high turnout election, that everyone isn't discouraged. That's got to be what he's gunning for in just a few days.
John,
with Cruz in Indiana, the other problem he has, in addition to being down a few points right now, and maybe some of what Trendy was suggesting occurring in the electorate writ large, is he isn't getting the consolidation there that he got in Wisconsin to stop Trump there, the consolidation of kind of Republican Party support with conservative grassroots. And so really, even if they were not looking to make this Fiorina move at this point, their hand was almost forced.
Yeah, I mean, in Wisconsin, you had talk radio, was staunchly, against Trump from the beginning. For months, they've been making the case, explaining to, people why they think he's a bad choice. He's not a conservative. He's not fit to be commander-in-chief. You don't have that, I don't think, among Indiana talk radio, which has been more neutral. Governor Pence has been on the sidelines. Former Governor Mitch Daniels hasn't come out, done anything. Dan Coates, Republican senator, hasn't said a word. So I think that, these are all, that's not good for Cruz. But the best news, I think you got to think that Kasich is pulling out of Indiana, signaling to voters there, his voters there, that he's not competing. If the undecideds break a little bit in Cruz's favor, and if only, let's just say, you get 3, 4, 5 points of Kasich voters who jump over to Cruz, you really could have a neck-and-neck race in Indiana on Tuesday.
Now, Ted Cruz made the rare move of announcing a running mate so early without even winning the nomination. Who do you think Donald Trump is going to choose as a VP? Because I thought Carly Fiorina might have been a good match with him.
I have no idea. On one hand, if you were thinking an elected official, you would probably think somebody like Chris Christie. That would be more of the Clinton Gore sort of model, double down on New York, New Jersey brashness. If he wants to go sort of a third-party, no labels, Jim Webb, former Democratic senator, former Republican, Jacksonian. So something like that could happen. But yeah, he's Donald Trump. He's unpredictable. But I think given how exciting Trump can be himself, I think he wants a less exciting person as vice president. I think he'll probably want to go with the adult in the room, and I guess Christie or Webb would both fulfill those requirements, but you could be surprised.
Yeah, I thought Webb would be an interesting no-labels pick, too. Somebody else, one of our listeners texted in earlier, with the prospect of a Rudy Giuliani, or is that too New York-centric?
That might be a little too New York-centric. I think you'd go with somebody who's actually, a governor who has governing experience like Christie. Right now, I think he'd be a more likely pick. But Giuliani, he kind of fits that mold. Like I said, the Clinton Gore model, where we're going to double down instead of trying to balance the ticket. We're going to go with, more of the same.
Do you feel like there's a warming to Trump as people are kind of coming to terms with the fact that he is more likely than not, certainly to be the nominee? You had Senator Bob Corker say some nice things about the foreign policy speech Trump gave yesterday. General Barry McCaffrey did as well. Certainly there were detractors as well, but seeming that there's a little bit of ice melting between some of the people that were critical of Trump previously, maybe even never Trumpers that are starting to be open to the possibility because they're turning their sights on Hillary?
Well, I think there are some. You mentioned Bob Corker. That's an example of someone who is warm to him. But I do think that, most people who said they were never Trump, it wasn't some sort of bluff. It was people, conservatives, who didn't want to come to this conclusion, but came to the conclusion that Trump is unfit to be commander-in-chief. While Hillary Clinton is disqualified to be president for ideological or philosophical and, characterological reasons. She's a liar. She's way far to the left. I think a lot of conservatives over the past couple months have just determined that Trump he's unstable. He's mentally unstable. We don't know what he's going to do. Maybe he's attacking Heidi Cruz. He's all over the place. He doesn't know what to do. And how would he respond to all these various national security crises that he may see? I think if you come to the conclusion that both candidates are disqualified, you've got to hope for a third party candidate emerges to give you an opportunity to vote for someone that you can in good conscience vote for.
Well, that's certainly the Bill Kristol position. All right, John McCormick, senior writer for the Weekly Standard. John, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
He joined us on our Turnkey.Pro answer line.
You're listening to Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Oh, a great damp day, and it's not going to get any better. We're going to have occasional rain and drizzle throughout the day, and it's going to be chilly, a high of 49 degrees. Tonight into the 30s we go with areas of drizzle. And then on Friday, what is Friday, Dan? Come on, say it.
Arbor Day.
Exactly, and your birthday. It's going to be cool. It's going to be cloudy, but we can have some sunshine in the afternoon when you go and plant that tree. A high of 54 degrees. Let's see if there's anything to plant or cars on the roadways. And standing water, has it gotten better? Here's Jim Telemonte.
Well, there's a positive, Amy. The water on the outbound Eisenhower at Central is clear. It's where everything is open again around Central Avenue. But the delays have only gotten heavier and the travel soggier. The Eisenhower running an hour and 5 minutes. Thorndale to downtown. It's 51 minutes from Manheim. Outbound 37 to Thorndale. The Edens, 30 minutes like Cook to the Junction. Outbound 35 to Kennedy. 46 minutes O'Hare to downtown. Outbound 50. Stevenson is an hour and 5 minutes. 3:55 to Lakeshore Drive. Ryan, 30 minutes, 95th to downtown. Northbound Tri-State, slow 95th to 75th. From the Stevenson to Ogden, Roosevelt to North Avenue, eastbound Adams Tollway, it's bumper to bumper, Arlington Heights Road to the River Road Toll Plaza. I'm Jim Talamonte in the Guardian Security Services Traffic Center.
Slide through like a wet noodle.
I've been very happy with Balance of Nature. You know what the funny thing is, even when I'm tired, I feel better than I have in so long. I really haven't gotten colds. It's just been great. I've been very, very pleased. More energy. I think it really works. I really do.
Working out, losing weight, and even in the best of times, I can't eat that many vegetables, so it's nice to know I'm getting them.
My husband got a cold, but I didn't. So, hooray! Thank God for Balance of Nature.
It's time you had a Balance of Nature experience in your own life. Call now. Accept and complete Dr. Howard's 120-day challenge to earn a free month supply of Balance of Nature. Call 1-800-2468-751. That's 1-800-2468-751 to begin your road to better health. Or go online to balanceofnature.com. Use promo code CHICAGO.
Running a business is tough these days. From a president who claimed it
You didn't build that. Somebody else made that happen.
to the mountains and mountains of taxes and regulations here in Illinois. But many companies, big and small, have persevered, serving their customers and communities. If that's you and your business, then AM 560 The Answer wants to celebrate your success and tell your story. It's the AM 560 Business Tour 2016, presented by Signature Bank. This spring, Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson will be broadcasting live from businesses in Illinois with success stories of overcoming the odds and thriving in spite of the challenging business environment. If your company fits this description, then we want to know about it so we can consider broadcasting from your location. Tell us your story. Visit 560theanswer.com/business and submit your information. That's 560theanswer.com/business. Sponsored in part by Flex Execs Management Solutions.
CertaPro painters are here for every stage of your life, from moving into a new home, creating the ideal nursery, to reinventing your living space. CertaPro painting experts create the perfect setting while you do life. They came to our home and brightened our walls and our moods so very quiet they wouldn't wake a baby. But the best part? They clean up after themselves so you don't have to do it. And now that spring is here, it is the perfect time to spruce up your home's exterior. Take a look at your home. Do you see chipping, peeling, fading? Well, leave it to CertaPro painting experts to refresh, renew, and protect your biggest investment, your home. Now is the time to call for your free estimate and schedule your exterior painting project. 1-800-GO-CERTA, 1-800-GOCERTA. That's CERTA with a C. Or visit CertaPro.com today. CertaPro.com. CertaPro painters, we do painting, you do life. Each CertaPro painter's business is independently owned and operated.
If you're talking about it, I'll be talking about it. Dennis Prager here. Join me this morning at 11, right here on AM 560, The Answer.
Dan and Amy, so what do you think of the Carly pick? 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro. Answer line, 64636DA, turnkey.pro. Text line. After she was announced, she framed the choice for Hoosiers, or as Amy calls them, Indianans.
Stop it.
As only Carly can do.
Well, what do you mean?
What, as only, what
Oh,
do you
yeah,
mean?
yeah,
What do you
yeah,
mean?
yeah. No,
she-
what do you mean? What do you
Framing,
mean?
framing the choice.
Yes.
Yeah.
You have a choice to make. We have choices.
You see what we have? You know, Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton, they are two sides of the same coin. They're both liberal, we know that. But, you know, Hillary Clinton, like so many politicians, Hillary Clinton has made her millions selling access and influence from inside the system. And Donald Trump has made his billions buying people like Hillary Clinton. They are not going to challenge the system that has sold us all down the river. They're not going to challenge the elites. They're not going to challenge the crony capitalists. They're not going to challenge the Washington insiders. They're not going to challenge the lobbyists. My gosh, their campaign is filled with them. No, they're not going to challenge the system. They are the system.
And
Oh, excuse me.
that's a pretty good indictment of the two candidates and the comparison, the linkage that the Cruz campaign is trying to make. I'll say this about Carly and Cruz, or Cruz and Carly, I guess is the proper
Yeah, please,
order.
excuse me. It's not Amy and Dan. It's Dan and Amy. It's Cruz and Carly. Okay?
Maybe there's still time for us to form a ticket, enter the race. So Cruz and Carly, forget the timing of this for a second. If Cruz was the front runner and Carly was his VP choice, conservatives would be excited. A lot of conservatives like me are excited about this selection, even given the timing. And the reason is because if you look at intellectual heft and tenacious commitment to conservative principle, knowing what they're going to do if they were to assume the Oval Office, there has never been a better 1-2 punch in my lifetime for conservatives and conservatism.
But to win over more Republicans, do you think maybe he should have chosen a more moderate running mate? And maybe some people are seeing this, that he's playing the woman's card just because, by choosing Carly.
When Ronald Reagan chose George Herbert Walker Bush, how did that work out? Not great. I mean, it worked out in terms of President Reagan winning 2 elections, but that had nothing to do with H.W. Bush. And H.W. Bush turned out to be a fairly ineffectual president, you'll recall, and a one-termer who gave us Bill Clinton. So, no, I think particularly in these times, this is the way to paint in bold colors, not pale pastels, to borrow Reaganism. I thought this is an inspired choice for Cruz, and if he was the nominee, this would have been If he was the nominee, this would have been the right choice. So just forgetting for a moment, desperation move, Hail Mary, all of the statements from detractors about this move. If he were the nominee, this is the right choice for Ted Cruz. Just looking at it in terms of the substance of the pick.
But the thing is, we got to get him to be the nominee because he's not there yet.
Maybe
this will help. It might change Hoosiers' minds.
A long way from there, no question.
It might help with California because she ran for Senate there. She's from California.
Mark in Des Plaines, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hey, guys. I think that pick is gender politics, and I am sick of race and gender politics. But I want to tell you something about this guy you were just talking to. Trump is mentally unstable. Who is this expert you were just talking to? Is he a psychiatrist? The parsing of Trump's speech this morning has just been way out there. It's really interesting. For years, we haven't heard much about candidates' policies. Now that Trump's in the race, we're suddenly very interested in policies. At the very least, Trump's getting us to talk about policy. Instead of talking about Cruz's reference to a basketball hoop as a ring, let's focus on stuff that matters. I'm voting for whoever the Republican candidate is going to be.
Okay, thanks for the call, Mark. By the way, I got to get this Mike Scott line in. The announcement that Bernie Sanders has...
is cutting 200 to 700 staff members.
The irony of a socialist firing people. That's a Mike Scott line.
Mike Scott, yes.
This guy...
The guy's brilliant.
That's very nicely done. Nice turn of a phrase from Mike Scott.
Turn on his mic.
It may have been borrowed slightly from Dennis Miller to make sure that I give full credit.
Now you ruined it.
Sorry about that. I'm trying to be honest.
You're so... I mean, look at...
Betty,
there's no more honesty than Mike Scott.
Betty in New Buffalo, Michigan.
Hi, Dan and Amy. I'd just like to know your thoughts regarding the $500,000 payment that the Cruz Super PAC made to the Carly Super PAC, and they're saying that it might be affiliated with the fact that Cruz had an affair with a Carly campaign staffer, and that's why the payment was made. It was made a couple months ago, and I'd just like to know your thoughts on it.
Thanks for the call, Betty. No. I don't believe the Inquirer story. There's no substantiation to it. The Cruz Super PAC operates independent of the Cruz campaign. Super PACs are required to do so. Transferring money to somebody who is going to be an ally so that she could be a stronger ally, not unheard of. I don't know more about the $500,000 contribution from the Cruz Super PAC, not the campaign, to the Carly PAC that has been reported. I know that a lot of people are talking about an FEC looking into it. Well, they can look into it and we'll see. But I think to suggest anything nefarious, well, there's just not a lot of substantiation to further that accusation.
Bring the funny. Come on, tell a couple stories, smile, make the people feel like they're seeing a show.
This is the morning show more Chicago radio listeners are choosing. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
If medications haven't helped you treat your depression, why haven't you tried TMS therapy offered by Theramind? Now there is a way to successfully treat your depression without the need for meds and their harmful side effects. TMS therapy is covered by most insurance, including Blue Cross Blue Shield of Illinois and Medicare. Don't continue to suffer needlessly. Call Theramind. Don't wait. Call Theramind now. 847-562-5868. The single greatest advancement to date in treating depression. depression is TMS. It's an FDA-cleared, non-drug, safe, and effective treatment. TMS has already changed the lives of over 50,000 patients. Why not you? Visit tmsmind.com. Depression can be beaten, and without drugs. Call Theramind today, 847-562-5868, or get more info at tmsmind.com. That's Theramind at 847-562-5868, or online at tmsmind.com.
The stock market may seem like a roller coaster ride, but your finances don't have to be. You may be wondering, is there another big correction on the horizon? If so, are you prepared? Or are you at the mercy of stockbrokers if it happens? Let Online Trading Academy teach you how to navigate the stock market during these changing times. They offer professional trading and investing education for every skill level. They'll teach you a rules-based strategy, trading on knowledge, not speculation, so you can identify market changes before they happen. Reserve your seat today for a free half-day training course at their state-of-the-art education facility in Lombard. Call 877-OTA-CHIC now. Mention this ad, and Online Trading Academy will send you a free home video study course valued at $247 just for calling. Call now, 877-OTA-CHIC.
Coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer, some breaking news on Dennis Hastert. He's going to be removed from the Wrestling Hall of Fame, and that's not all.
And Zach Farden, U.S. Attorney, says they did everything they could. Well, I think Judge Durkin's sentence says something different. We'll have that at 7:37.
But first, back into the newsroom. We go to a very honest man. Here is Mike Scott.
Amy and Dan, we're watching developments in the business world this morning. A longtime medical device heavyweight Abbott Labs buying competitor St. Jude Medical. It's a $25 billion deal coming together this morning. Another embarrassing failure for North Korea. South Korea's defense ministry says the North launched a powerful intermediate-range missile, but it crashed moments after liftoff. Republican presidential frontrunner Donald Trump says rival Ted Cruz's selection of Carly Fiorina as a running mate is a waste of time.
Well, I think it's really a waste of time, honestly. I think
Cruz picked the former Hewlett-Packard CEO as his running mate if he wins the GOP nomination. An outbreak of mumps at the Eastern Illinois University has affected about a dozen students. University spokeswoman Vicki Shaw says the current outbreak started around April 11. Thousands of NFL fans flooding the streets of Chicago today for the NFL draft. Mayor Rahm Emanuel on hand.
It's a great way to show off the city to the entire country. I think last year they had both TV as well as social media, about 48 million people kind of viewing. You can't kind of pay for that advertising.
Festivities begin today around Grant Park with the opening of Draft Town. Former U.S. House Speaker Dennis Hastert sentenced Wednesday to 15 months in prison for breaking federal banking rules in a scheme to cover up sexual abuse. Now, the teacher's retirement system says he will lose his pension after his years of teaching in Yorkville High School. Chicago sports, White Sox over Toronto 4-0. Milwaukee and the Cubs rained out last night. The news, a service of TimeshareExitTeam.com. The only thing worse than being stuck in a timeshare. Get out now safely and legitimately with Timeshare Exit Team. They'll get you out or give you a full refund. 855-MY-EXIT-TEAM, 855-MY-EXIT-TEAM. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
The Joe Walsh Show.
Let me go to Michael in Uptown. Hi, Michael, your turn.
Yeah, Joe, the government bailed out the rich people who own General Motors.
Let me ask you a question, Michael. Do you think it's a good idea that the government bails out billionaires?
I will not submit to your interrogation. If you got something to say to me, get up on your hind legs and speak.
Are you talking to me?
I'm talking to you.
Oh, okay. No, Michael.
I will not submit your domination trip.
You talking to me? You talking to me? Well, I'm the only one here. Okay, Michael.
The Joe Walsh Show. Weeknights starting at 5 on AM 560. The Answer.
LiveWatch helps you connect and respond up to 10 times faster in an emergency. LiveWatch has no long-term contracts. Save up to 50% off home security. Call 855-LiveWatch or visit livewatch.com.
Loan is a 15-year fixed-rate loan with a 1-0 lender paid buyout. Reduced payment valid only during the first 12 months. Monthly payment during the first 12 months of your loan is based on a rate that is 1% lower than your interest rate for this loan program. Not all applicants will qualify. Rates and terms subject to change. Illinois Residential Mortgage Licensee. 14511 Myford Road, Suite 100, Tustin, California 92780. NMLS 6606, Equal Housing Lender.
Introducing a 15-year fixed-rate loan with a fixed payment rate in year one at only 1.99%. I'm Rick Arviello, CEO of New American Funding, and I'm proud to announce a 15-year fixed-rate mortgage at only 2.99% interest rate, 2.99% 2.91 APR with the first full year's payment at only 1.99% fixed payment rate. Pay off your loan in 15 years and save tens of thousands of dollars in unnecessary mortgage payments. 1.99% fixed payment rate in year one and 2.99% fixed for the remaining term, 2.91% APR for a purchase or refinance.
Call New American Funding today at 800-963-4933. That's 800-963-4933. Or visit newamericanfunding.com today.
737 in our Guardian Security Services Traffic Center. Here is Jim Talamonte.
Thanks, Mike. The inbound Edens is 35 minutes from Lake Hook to Montrose, outbound 40. Kennedy, 46 minutes. O'Hare to downtown, outbound 50. The Ike, an hour and 10 minutes. Thorndale to downtown, outbound 42 minutes. Stevenson, an hour and 5 minutes. 355 to Lakeshore Drive, outbound 36 minutes. The Ryan, 30 minutes. 95th to the Loop, northbound Tri-State. So 95th to 75th. From the Stevenson to Ogden and Roosevelt to North Avenue. Veterans Memorial bottled up from Boughton to the Reagan Tollway and Army Trail to 290. Traffic is a service of Subway. Introducing the new Subway Carved Turkey and Bacon Sandwich. Their premium carved turkey is thick-cut, all-white meat turkey, oven-roasted to perfection. Subway, fresh is what they do. Traffic answers when you need them most. Jim Talamonte on AM 560, The Answer.
Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. Your official Chicagoland weather forecast from the AirComfort.com Weather Center. Breezy and chilly, occasional rain and drizzle throughout this day. High 49, cold overnight, low 39, 44 at O'Hare. Next news coming up at 8. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
This hourly segment is sponsored by Financial Planning with Jack Taboda, your 401k specialist. Heard Saturday mornings at 7 right here on AM 560, The Answer.
Your money. Find out how to keep more of it and live debt-free. Tonight on The Dave Ramsey Show, starting at 7 on AM 560, The Answer.
Dan and Amy, so yesterday, Denny Hastert sentenced to 15 months in prison, 2 years supervised release, $250,000 fine. To Judge Durkin's credit, his prison sentence was 1.5 times the max that was recommended by federal prosecutors as part of the plea agreement with Denny Hastert, which is a shame and, frankly, a miscarriage. And Zach Farden, the U.S. Attorney for the Northern District, who replaced Patrick Fitzgerald, had this to say after the sentencing.
Followed the case where it led. We brought the charges we could bring. And through that, Mr. Hastert's legend and legacy are gone. And in its place are a broken, humiliated man. That is as it should be.
Yeah.
And he's a disgrace because he got up there as the surprise to many people that were there for his sentencing, and he spoke. But there was no contrition. There was no heartfelt apology. I mean, he said things, Judge, what I want to do first is say sorry, what I did was wrong, and I regret it. And he apologized to the Cross family, although he later denied that he can't remember if he molested Scott Cross.
Individual D.
Yeah, Individual D, who came forward and let his identity known, and that was emotional as well. But he said that he apologized to his family, friends, colleagues, and constituents, and to the people of the United States.
So there's a lot of reckoning that has to occur here. Zach Farden, by definition, he said they did all they could. They followed the evidence where it led, did what they could. Well, obviously not, because Judge Durkin imposed a sentence 1.5 times what you had agreed to with Denny Hastert's attorneys. So obviously you didn't do all you could. Well, and even Judge Durkin didn't do all he could, although it was much better than what Farden did. I don't think that was justice served in this case. They should have maxed him out.
312-642-5600 is our number.
Here's something else. To your point about Denny Hastert's apology, he referred to the, quote, boys I mistreated.
Right.
Mistreated.
And then he said athletes that I mistreated, too. The boys I mistreated and athletes.
This whole euphemizing what Denny Hastert did, no. Sexually molested children. And I know we've got some of what Jolene Burge had to say, the sister of Stephen Reinbold, but I want to read part of the letter from Stephen that she...
Yeah. All right. When she read a letter that Stephen had wrote to his mom before he died.
Yeah, and I want to read a part of that. Okay. Dear Mom, it rained this morning, but now the sun is out of the air, is crisp and clean. I've been on a shopping spree these past couple of months, and now I have to kick back to the first of the month. He continued. Usually I'm in the backyard trying to get some sun, rocking in the rocking chair. On Friday, I go to the oncology department so they can check my KS scores. This is, he died of AIDS. But I don't think there's a lot they can do for me. The taxi comes to pick me up and takes me back home, so I don't have to worry about driving. Other than that, it's steady as she goes. Ms. Burge, Steve's sister, said to the court, Steve died 5 months after writing this letter. He was 42 years old. His last years were spent alone in a one-room apartment, barely able to support himself, waiting to die. The sight in his right eye was gone. Neuropathy made it hard to walk, and people shunned him when they saw his KS lesions. He had long given up on trusting people and found solace in his music and movies. He spent most of his life jumping from job to job or having no job at all. One of the lives Denny Hastert destroyed.
And she said, too, that your words and actions diminished his self-worth. Because this, unlike the others, Dan, this, according to Jolene Burge, Denny Hastert was with Stephen for 4 years through his entire time at high school, that he played a father figure. She said that you were supposed to keep him safe. You didn't. You made him want you more. You moved on. You betrayed him. He felt ashamed and embarrassed. And then I love when she said, are you sorry for what you did, or are you sorry that you got caught? And that was a difference here. And he showed no remorse. He looked down. And it was so weird because they were giving these statements literally 2 feet away from Denny Hastert, who was sitting in his wheelchair with his walker. And there was no remorse. There was no reaction, no facial expressions, just as every day. And then once Dennis Hastert spoke and gave a non-apology apology, they asked him, did you or did you not sexually molest individual A? Yes. Did you sleep in bed with him overnight? Yes. It's individual C? No. Individual D, Scott Cross, he said he can't remember. And I kept thinking he can't remember because he probably hit on so many wrestlers on his squad that he only remembers the one that he was successful with. And then Stephen Reinbold, they asked him, and he said, well, that one was different. And then he took a long pause, and I'm telling you, I really thought that he was going to say that he was going to profess his love for him. It was so strange.
Serial sexual molester. That is the epitaph of Denny Hastert whenever that is written.
And the judge repeated that 4 times, even saying it is sick that we say serial child molester and Speaker of the House in the same sentence.
Yeah.
I mean, he ridiculed him. He hammered him home for an hour, and I loved it.
Yeah, well, that's not enough. It's not enough.
No,
and
he should have given him 5 years.
There are questions of Zach Farden that haven't been asked and answered that need to be. And there are questions for all of us, including, frankly, the Republican Party, of what was known by who and when. Scott Cross, Individual D, the brother of Tom Cross, who was the House Republican Minority Leader for 10 years, 2003 to 2013. I've been very critical of Tom Cross because he was a weak, ineffective political leader. This is a personal matter. Tom Cross was a Denny Hastert protege. Tom Cross, his political career was shepherded by Denny Hastert, and one has to wonder, was Denny Hastert's assistance to Tom Cross over the years sort of a payback for what he had done to his brother?
Well,
that's how sick this story is.
And it
gets sicker with each passing day.
And Scott Cross, he had emotional statement that he read where there was not a dry eye in the courtroom. And he said he was a freshman that was wrestling on the varsity level. He one day went to Denny Hastert and was alone with him in the locker room. And he said, I need to lose weight, because I got to make weight for tomorrow. And he tried to molest him, but he did run away from Denny Hastert, but he kept that inside. Not until last year, he told the court that, and he told the judge that it was not until last year. So he kept this inside of him for 35 years. And he finally came clean with his parents, with Tom Cross, his brother, and with his wife and his 2 kids. And here's his dad, Thomas Cross, who reacted.
My wife and I are immensely proud of Scott for his character, his courage today, and the good man he is.
Yeah.
And when he walked out, his brother stood up, and there was a smattering of applause. And, you're not supposed to clap in court, but Tom Cross walked out with his brother, and it was very, very powerful.
It's a difficult thing. It goes to the lives that Denny Hastert destroyed, which is why the punishment is insufficient. And there was more that could have been done that wasn't done, and that's the problem. And so the question is, if Denny Hastert had not been the Speaker of the House, would the sentence have been different? I think it would have been more severe had he not been. I think this goes right to feed the cynicism of people who believe there are separate systems of justice based on the political or financial clout you have. And this is yet another example of it, even though Judge Durkin was much tougher on Denny Hastert than federal prosecutors were inclined to be. But that fact also speaks perhaps to the two systems of justice.
But the statute of limitations ran out. I mean, this happened back in the 60s.
We're not talking about the statutes. Let's stick on topic. The maximum punishment that was available. And oh, by the way, including relinquishing his federal pension. His federal pension, so taxpayer-funded pension, $73,000 a year, I think was the last count on it, that Denny Hastert is not going to lose.
I know. It makes you sick. And his state pension, what he did lose yesterday was his Yorkville School District pension, but that was $16,000. But still, and then you have people like State Senator Mr. Murphy, who says, oh, this isn't political. But just keep in mind, folks, that this happened when he was a wrestling coach, and it did not translate into his years in politics.
I don't think there's anything political to be gleaned from this, to be perfectly honest. He got a sentence that I think was reasonable for what he's done.
I don't think the sentence was reasonable.
Matt Murphy, I'll tell you what. He is a friend. I like Matt. He's a good legislator. That is an astoundingly dumb statement. That is an astoundingly ignorant statement. This has everything to do with political leadership in this country. This was a man who was third in line to the presidency of the United States, who was a sexual predator. This has to do with going back and thinking about how Denny Hastert's criminal sexual molestation of children impacted his service and the decision-making he made as a member of Congress and as Speaker of the House, the Mark Foley scandal. This goes to a political culture that suggests character doesn't matter. You just have to line up with the party platform on one side or the other. He didn't get the sentence commensurate with the crime. 15 months commensurate with destroying lives by sexually molesting children? I mean, is that really the position you want to take, Matt Murphy? Let's dispense with, kind of rallying to the Republican flag on this. Let's suggest this is another bad episode, because this is true, in Republican Party politics in Illinois. And I understand people were oblivious to this. This apparently was the best kept secret in the history of American politics. It's incredible, but it seems that that is actually the case. But let's also rally to justice when this is discovered and make sure the punishment does fit the crime, because it doesn't. And also let's do a little bit of a mirror check and a little bit of an internal audit into the Republican Party as part of the political culture in Illinois and the gruesomeness, the monsters that we are begetting. Astounding that anybody would make that statement. Astounding. Let's go to Ralph in Rantoul. You're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Yeah, what Hastert's a moral reprobate and a predator, no doubt about that. But, it speaks to a bigger issue. So, look, why do we keep on cramming down the age of consent? So I guess it's okay if two 16-year-olds have sex, but a high school teacher having sex with a student is bad. Ostensibly, we all know why, because they're supposed to be wiser, better people. Nonsense. What we're telling society is it's okay for children to have sex. If we're going to be serious about it, get the statutes lengthened. Yes, it's difficult to criminally prosecute sex offenses. Okay, maybe that's why rape trials are always so difficult to get to. But doggone it, if we're going to treat this stuff seriously, get the statute of limitations way out there. I mean, hey, if you kill somebody, you got to think about that for the rest of your life. So they had to do the same thing with this.
Thanks, Ralph.
And it wasn't just 5. I seriously think we have a Jerry Sandusky situation on our hands. I mean, he put a recliner in the shower, and Scott Cross addressed that issue, too, yesterday, saying it wasn't only what he did to me, but it was behavior and how he was capitalizing. He was preying on kids because parents trusted him.
Well,
they let him take his kids out of town.
If there are more victims, and I think it's right to suspect that there are. Hopefully, the courage of Scott Cross and some of the others, Jolene Burge, will encourage others to come forward. Marianne and Wilmette.
Hi. I'm appalled at the sentence that they gave him. I think they should have thrown the book at him, taken away pensions, everything, and just stripped him of any sort of privileges the rest of us get. And it's sickening to me that that we hid, and if anyone knew about this, and hid it from him. And I think one of his attorneys said something. I believe it was his attorney who said he's an old man who's broken, who's living with shame. You know what? I have been a fan of shame forever. I think people should live with shame because it's a good thing. It kept me as a kid from doing some things.
Yeah.
There's no shame anymore.
Thanks for the call, Marianne. And let me tell you something else. He should live shame for the rest of his days in a cage.
Listen to Dan and Amy on your smartphone. Download the AM 560 mobile app today at 560theanswer.com/mobile.
And the sad thing is the prison choices he has, the federal prisons level 4s, he won't be living in a cage.
Two systems of justice.
Yeah, and today it's going to be breezy, chilly, just a yucky day out there. Consistent rain and drizzle throughout the day. Chilly, a high in the upper 40s. Tonight into the 30s we go, and tomorrow a little bit better. It's going to be cool. Cloudy in the morning, but maybe some sun by the afternoon, a high of 54 degrees. Travel times, here's Jim Telemonte.
Thanks, Amy and Dan. Kennedy inbound, it is an hour from O'Hare to downtown. A little quicker than the Express. Outbound 55 minutes to the airport. The Eden's 35 minutes. Lake Cook to the junction. Outbound 40. The Ike, an hour and 12 minutes. Thorndale to the Loop, 57 minutes from Manheim. Outbound 42 to Thorndale. Stevenson, an hour, 3:55 to Lakeshore Drive. Outbound 37 minutes. Ryan's 30 minutes, 95th to downtown. Lakeshore Drive is rough from Bryn Mawr to North Avenue. 40 minutes, Hollywood to Monroe. Northbound slow from the Stevenson to Jackson. Tri-State southbound stop and go 21 to Eau Plaine. Northbound, you've got scattered delays from Harlem to Ogden. Then it's slow from Roosevelt to North Avenue. Veterans Memorial slow about into the ring and Tollway. Butterfield to Roosevelt from the Army Trail toll to 290. Jim Talamonte in the Guardian Security Services Traffic Center.
Have you thought, I want to send my child to a private school, but I can't afford it? Well, if that's you, we want to remind you about halfpriceschools.com. At halfpriceschools.com, you can find dozens of local private schools offering vouchers for a full year of tuition at half the price. There's no catch. It's real simple. Find a school near you, purchase the tuition voucher, and prepare to send your child off to school this fall. Halfpriceschools.com has schools located all across the Chicago area, some in Chicago, Arlington Heights, Villa Park, Lake Geneva, Wheaton, just to name a few. So start thinking about back to school today. And this might make private schools a real option for your family for the first time, but don't wait. Every year, these vouchers do sell out. Visit halfpriceschools.com today. That's halfpriceschools.com.
The following is an incredible, life-changing free offer for anyone with hearing problems who wants to start hearing everything more clearly again. We're now offering free in-home trials of a revolutionary hearing breakthrough called Listen Clear to anyone who calls this special toll-free number now, 1-800-300-3391. Call in the next 10 minutes and you'll also qualify for free shipping and free batteries for life. Listen Clear is precisely designed by top audio engineers. It adjusts to let you find the perfect way to hear everything, wherever you are and whatever you're doing. And Listen Clear is so invisible, people may not even know you're wearing it. And it's so lightweight, you may even forget you're wearing it too. Don't miss this special life-changing opportunity to hear everything more clearly again for free with a 100% free in-home trial, free shipping, and even free batteries for life. For free information, call now. 1-800-300-3391. That's 1-800-300-3391. 1-800-300-3391.
If you're serious about selling your home, now's the time. Supply is low, and it's a great seller's market in many Chicagoland neighborhoods. This is Michael Medved, and I've done some research, and along with my Salem radio colleagues Mike Gallagher and Dennis Prager, we all recommend that you call Saul. Saul Z and the Z team are so good that if they don't sell your home in 59 days, they'll sell it for free. Guaranteed. Saul is ranked 106 out of 1.2 million agents by the Wall Street Journal. His proven marketing system is so effective that he sells on average a home every single day. Now, he does it by attracting multiple full-price offers that increase demand and help sell your home fast and at the highest price. It's a no-brainer. If I were selling a home in Chicagoland, I'd call Saul. Go online to callsaul.net. That's callsaul, S-A-U-L.net. Or call Saul now at 888-346-0666. That's callsaul.net or 888-346-0666. You'd better call Saul.
AM 560, The Answer.
The following is a paid political announcement.
They're made, bought, and we pay the price. Sellout politicians like Congressman Todd Young. Special interests and Mitch McConnell have spent $1 million buying Young a promotion to the Senate. He owes them, not us. Young does as he's told. He voted to raise the debt limit over $2 trillion and voted to fund Obamacare and Obama's amnesty plan. Say no to Congressman Young. We don't need another sellout in Washington. When did Republicans lose their backbone, their guts, their conviction? Some will say they stood up to Obama. That's easy. But who stood up to their own party? That's Marlin Stutzman. Marlin voted against John Boehner, fought sweetheart deals on both sides, and even wrote his own federal budget that actually balances. Marlin knows when Republicans bend, America breaks. Stand strong, Marlin. Conservative Marlin Stutzman for Senate.
I'm Marlin Stutzman, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Stutzman for Senate.
And now, a moment of objectivism with Yaron Brook and the Ayn Rand Institute.
The critics of income inequality say they are for social justice. But what does that mean? It means that if you're really productive, if you work hard, create lots of wealth, and make a lot of money, you're doing something bad. You're creating inequality. So what's fair? Well, what's fair is that government take a bunch of your money and give it to other people. Why do they deserve it? Because they didn't create much wealth. That's what it comes down to. Social justice says to punish people who've done nothing wrong for the sake of other people who have not been wronged. On the other hand, justice says to punish people for the wrong they've done to others. To learn more, visit ARIradio.com. From the Ayn Rand Institute, I'm Yaron Brook.
This has been a moment of objectivism from the Ayn Rand Institute. To learn more, listen to the Yaron Brook Show, Saturdays at 4 on AM 560, and visit ARIradio.com.
Why are Ayn Rand's ideas so compelling? Her worldview, her philosophy, expressed dramatically in her novels Atlas Shrugged and The Fountainhead, embodies the ideals stated by the Founding Fathers in the Declaration of Independence and sets forth the requirements necessary to achieve a flourishing life. She called her philosophy objectivism and said it was a philosophy for living on Earth. Today, decades after her death, objectivism continues to stir debate and inspire passion for the spirit of individualism and the enduring American dream.
Hi, I'm Dr. Howard. In my travels, I occasionally hear a Balance of Nature ad on the radio. These products are the culmination of my life's work, and I'm often surprised at my emotions that arise when people talk about how they have improved the quality of their life.
One thing that I'm amazed about is that prior to taking this, I was having hot flashes like almost every day, sometimes periodically, and haven't had them since then. So by all means, that's the one thing that I'm very grateful for.
These people are real. I'd like to thank the Balance of Nature customers for trusting me and for allowing me to help them in their pursuit of health.
Call now. Accept and complete Dr. Howard's 120-day challenge to earn a free month supply of Balance of Nature. Call 1-800-2468-751. That's 1-800-2468-751. Or go online to balanceofnature.com. Use promo code CHICAGO.
Coming up on Chicago's Very Morning Answer.
We'll talk to famed constitutional attorney Alan Dershowitz about the Hastert case at 8:08.
And Will Ferrell is playing Ronald Reagan in a new film, but wait until you hear the premise for the movie. We'll explain. But first, into the newsroom we go. Here is Mike Scott.
Amy and Dan, Dennis Hastert sentenced to 15 months in federal prison. We'll get reaction from the U.S. attorney. Governor expressing some optimism about ending the budget crisis. The NFL draft set to begin here in Chicago with round 1 later today. Northwest Indiana funeral home worker has pleaded guilty. White Sox sweep out the Blue Jays, and the Cubs were rained out. And rain is in the forecast for today. WIND Chicago News Time is 8 o'clock.
Fox News Radio, I'm Lisa Brady. The U.S. Defense Chief due on Capitol Hill this hour to brief Congress on the ISIS fight, just days after President Obama announced he's sending more U.S. troops to Syria. In Syria, a wave of airstrikes hitting rebel-held areas overnight. Fox Radio's Jessica Gallagher live in our Mideast Bureau.
Lisa, the strikes hit an internationally backed hospital in the rebel-held region of Syria's largest city of Aleppo, killing at least 27. Today's violence brings the death toll in the past 24 hours in Aleppo to at least 61. The city is divided, controlled by both the opposition and Syrian President Bashar al-Assad's forces. Damascus launched an offensive to retake the city earlier this year. Lisa.
Thanks, Jessica. Donald Trump calling President Obama's foreign policy reckless as he pledges to put America first.
Our rivals no longer respect us. In fact, they're just as confused as our allies.
Giving the first in a string of policy speeches, teleprompters and all, while Ted Cruz was busy picking a running mate.
There is a lot at stake, and in fact, this is a fight.
Carly Fiorina says she's up to the challenge and that she changed her mind about Cruz after being a harsh critic when she was running for president. He also plans to keep going, but Bernie Sanders is cutting staff. Fox Radio's Rachel Sutherland, live in Washington.
Lisa, the Sanders campaign is shrinking to a staff of no more than 350 people from what used to be around 1,000. The decision to let go of staff comes after his poor showing in Tuesday's contest. Even so, Sanders sounded hopeful as he rallied supporters in Bloomington, Indiana.
With your help, we're going to win here in Indiana next Tuesday.
The Sanders campaign is also expected to focus on trying to win the California primary June 7th. Lisa.
Rachel, just ahead of the opening bell, Dow futures down triple digits, and just in, the U.S. economy barely budging in the first quarter, growing by 0.5%, weakest pace in 2 years. Fox News Radio, fair and balanced.
Cloudy skies, some light sprinkles out there this morning at 8:02 on AM 560. The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. There's an outbreak of mumps being dealt with at Eastern Illinois University. About a dozen students have been sickened. The outbreak began around April 11. Thousands of NFL fans are flooding the streets of Chicago preparing for the NFL draft kicking off today. The mayor saying the event has been a great promotional tool for the city.
It's a great way to show off the city to the entire country. I think last year they had both TV as well as social media, about 48 million people kind of viewing. You can't kind of pay for that advertising.
Festivities began today around Grant Park with the opening of Draft Town. Former House Speaker Dennis Hastert sentenced to 15 months in prison for breaking federal banking rules in a scheme to cover up sexual abuse. U.S. Attorney Zach Varden said the conviction and sentencing of the Republican Hastert corrects how history will regard him.
History would have told a lie. We're in a different and better place by virtue of having now an opportunity for the truth to be told, these victims to step forward, to show their courage.
One of the witnesses at Hastert's sentencing hearing was Scott Cross, the brother of former Illinois House Republican leader Tom Cross. Scott Cross testified the effects of being molested by Hastert as a high school wrestler have lingered with him throughout his adult life. A Northwest Indiana funeral home bookkeeper faces 20 years in prison for allegedly embezzling more than $340,000. Court records filed in Hammond, Indiana, show Donna Dixon had a change of plea hearing scheduled for May 11 and has agreed to plead guilty to one count of a scheme to defraud. Chicago sports, White Sox over Toronto 4-0. Milwaukee and the Cubs rained out. The news, a service of Unbound. No two dreams are the same. Help one person achieve theirs at unbound.org. 8:03, time for the AM 560 Business Beat, a service of Turnkey.pro. From the Fox Business Network, here's Jenny Casola.
Today, breezy.
From the Fox Business Network, Ford is reporting a strong start to the year, a record quarter. Earnings were about double the year-ago numbers. Its numbers topped Wall Street forecasts. And your next car rental may be a Ford. The company's been selling more fleet cars. Ford CEO Mark Fields tells Fox Business this year will match or top last year's strong numbers. Amazon is expected to report a profit for its first quarter. It lost money a year ago. Larry Haverty is portfolio manager at Gabelli.
Every business they're in, they're gaining market share. So the stock's expensive, but it's going to continue.
Amazon is not only selling more things, its cloud storage business is growing. Medical merger news. French drug company Sanofi is offering to buy Medivation. The deal would expand Sanofi's cancer treatment business. And Abbott Labs is buying St. Jude Medical, which makes medical devices. With the Fox Business Report, I'm Ginny Cosola.
8:05 and a check of traffic and weather coming up next on AM 560.
Personal finance is 80% behavior, 20% head knowledge.
Dave Ramsey.
The reason you're in debt is behavior, not math. The way you get out of debt is behavior, change, not math. You can't borrow your way out of debt. How many times have you heard someone say, I had a whole bunch of credit card debt and I paid it off by getting a second mortgage? You didn't pay it off, you moved it.
The Dave Ramsey Show, weeknights starting at 7, right before Michael Medved at 10. Presented by Wintrust Community Bank on AM 560. The Answer.
Ladies, are the chemicals in your home's water stripping the life from your hair? Men, do you have that one pesky toilet that always gives you problems? Listen to the Heatwave Plumbing Radio Show this Saturday for answers to all your plumbing questions. Need plumbing help right now? Be the very first person to go to radioplumbingdeals.com, fill out the radio discount request form, click submit, and get $129 worth of service for $39.95. That's radioplumbingdeals.com.
Here's an idea. Instead of waiting for your boss to give you a raise, give yourself one by refinancing your mortgage with Quicken Loans. You could add hundreds of dollars each month to your bottom line, like a boss. Call 800-QUICKEN today or visit us online at QuickenLoans.com. A Quicken Loans refinance gives you the financial power to enhance your life and pursue your passion. Our passion is client service. Here's the proof. For 6 years in a row, J.D. Power has ranked Quicken Loans highest in the nation in customer satisfaction. And for the second year in a row, they've also ranked us highest in mortgage servicing. Call 800-QUICKEN and buy in. Again, that number is 800-QUICKEN. Quicken Loans. Home buy, refi, power. Visit jdpower.com for award information. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender. Licensed in all 50 states. NMLSconsumeraccess.org, number 3030.
8:07 in our Guardian Security Services Traffic Center. Let's get the latest now with Jim Talamonte.
Thanks, Mike. The Edens is really heavy outbound with delays from Montrose to Glenview Road. 40 minutes from Montrose to Lake Cook, inbound 25. The Kennedy, inbound an hour and 5 minutes. O'Hare to downtown, 34 minutes from Montrose, 25 in the Express. Outbound 35 to Montrose, 55 to O'Hare. The Eisenhower's an hour and 12 minutes. Thorndale to downtown, outbound 52 minutes. Stevenson, 55 minutes, 3:55 to Lakeshore Drive, outbound 37. Ryan is 30 minutes, 95th to downtown. Tri-State southbound, though 21 to Eau Plaine. Northbound from 87th to Archer, from the Stevenson to the Hinsdale Oasis, and Roosevelt to North Avenue. Adams Tollway, slow Roselle to 53, Veterans Memorial, Fountain to the Reagan Tollway, and the Army Trail Toll to 290. Traffic answers when you need them most. Jim Talamonte at AM 560, The Answer.
Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. Your official Chicagoland weather forecast from the AirComfort.com Weather Center. 80 years of quality mechanical solutions for your business. Here's our meteorologist, Kevin Snyder.
A breezy day with gusts up to 30 miles per hour. Occasional rain and drizzle with a high 49. Spotty drizzle for the evening, otherwise cloudy tonight with a low of 40. A cloudy morning with clouds and sun in the afternoon tomorrow with a high of 54 and a low 42. I'm Kevin Snyder on AM 560, The Answer.
Currently, we have 42 at O'Hare. Next news, 8:30. And Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Guardian Security Services. If you're unhappy with your security guard, contact Guardian Security Services at 708-385-3300.
Good morning. Welcome to your Thursday morning briefing. Here's what you need to know to start your day.
Today, I'm very proud and very humbled and honored to announce that I have accepted Senator Ted Cruz's offer to be his vice president for the Republican nomination.
America First will be the major and overriding theme of my administration.
This speech, I thought he hit it out of the ballpark.
I wish Mr. Hastert had been called on the carpet in 1968, and we'd all be better for it. This is imperfect, but it's what we got.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560, The Answer.
Good morning, Dan and Amy. Well, in the wake of the Hastert sentencing, some people are not happy. Well, I'm one of them. Who does not think that justice was done in the case.
I'd like to go on record saying I concur.
More was done by the judge than by federal prosecutors in sort of a rare instance where Judge Durkin, in this case, the federal judge who presided over the Hastert matter, imposed a sentence 1.5 times what was recommended as part of a plea agreement by federal prosecutors. So that was encouraging, but he could have gone further. It could have been more. He could have maxed him out.
5 years. Right. That's what I was expecting. The way he was talking in court and talking about which prison he wants him to go to, Rochester, Minnesota, where there's a level 4 federal prison where he can have medical treatment. And I thought for sure he was going to throw the book at him, give him 5 years, and 15 months was just not enough.
How about forcing him to relinquish his federal pension so he don't have to suffer the further indignity of having a serial child molester, as Judge Durkin called Denny Hastert, being financed in his golden years and prison years by taxpayers? Well, we had famed constitutional lawyer Alan Dershowitz on the show a few weeks back, and it's always fun to talk to him because he's legal genius. And so it's always great. And we went back and forth on this matter of should you sentence for the underlying crime that you can't prosecute, the sexual molestation, in the context of sentencing for the crime that Denny Hastert actually pled guilty to, which is the more mundane, illegal structured withdrawals of money from his bank accounts to pay off the deal that he had struck with one of his victims. Well, now it's time to revisit that. And I dared to disagree with Alan Dershowitz on that. And I am not contrite about it. But we'll see if Alan Dershowitz has changed his view on the matter at all in light of the sentencing that Hastert received. Joining us now, Alan Dershowitz, former professor at Harvard Law School, famed constitutional attorney. Professor Dershowitz, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Well, thank you very much. There's a famous conversation between the great Justice Oliver Wendell Holmes and one of his law clerks. The law clerk says, Mr. Justice, the decision you rendered is not justice. It wasn't just. And Holmes says, young man, we're not in the justice business. We're in the law business. And so there is a difference between ultimate justice and whether the law was followed. And in this case, look, if he was a serial child molester, then the sentence probably, he should have served a long time in prison. It would have been better if he had been caught early and been able to be prosecuted. But the law imposes statutes of limitations for good reason. And when the statute of limitations are over, generally the person should not be punished for what he is alleged to have done over the period of the statute of limitations. What the judge did here was to say, look, I'm not going to punish you just for the structuring. That would be a misdemeanor. In effect, that would be a less serious crime. I'm going to look back to what you actually did. So maybe what the judge did was just, but I think it raised real questions about whether what he did was lawful.
Well, the other thing, I want to go back to something you said about statute of limitations, because the other thing that the statute of limitations has raised is a question of should we have a statute of limitations for those accused of child molestation, because we know how devastating those crimes are on children and how long it takes many to come to terms with what happened to them. That was certainly the case with Denny Hastert. And so speak to the purpose.
That's a good question.
Speak to the purpose of statute of limitations.
Yeah, I mean, that's a very good question. We have statute of limitations for virtually every crime except murder. And if the legislature wants to change the statute, and some jurisdictions have, they've said that the statute doesn't begin to run until the person becomes 21 or until the person realizes what's happened. So there's a lot of flexibility about changing the statute of limitations, but you have to change statute of limitations prospectively for the future. You can't change them and change the past. That would be in violation of what's called the ex post facto law of the Constitution. So this is a complicated case. It's also unusual for a judge to go beyond what the prosecutor recommends, and the judge did that in this case. Look, the O.J. Simpson case raised a similar question. Remember, he was convicted of a relatively minor offense in Nevada and sentenced to a humongous prison term because the judge, in effect, was saying, look, you got away with murder in California. I'm going to give you an extra punishment for that murder, which we think you did because of what you did in Nevada. And that raises the question. Al Capone, he was charged with tax evasion, but he wasn't sentenced for tax evasion. He was sentenced for everything else everybody thought he did during his reign of terror. So these are very hard jurisprudential, moral, legal questions. And in the end, what Hastert was accused of doing was terrible. The other issue that this case raises is, was Hastert himself a victim of an extortion, or was this really a settlement of a case? And, the line between extortion and secretly settling a case is often a subtle one, too, because the victim, and there were real victims here, might threaten to go public and get a better settlement to try to keep the matter
Yeah, but Judge Durkin settled that because Dennis Hastert tried to re-victimize the victim. So when the feds went to Denny Hastert, and this is what I found out in court yesterday, he said, "Oh no, he's forcing me to pay him." So then they wired up Dennis Hastert, and as it turned out, there was a verbal agreement that Dennis Hastert had between himself and individual A.
And prosecutors concluded there was no extortion.
Yeah, they're absolutely, and he agreed.
I think that sounds like a fair conclusion based on the evidence in the case. But you have to be, these kinds of cases are very, very difficult. And look, for whatever you say about Hastert and what he did was absolutely horrible, abusing his trust as a coach. He's an old man. He's an invalid. He's a sick man. He's been disgraced. There's no punishment that's worse than the kind of disgrace that he suffered. And now he'll probably go to Rochester and spend much of his time under hospitalization and probably be released in 12 to 13 months and will disappear ignobly into history for what people now believe he did years and years and years ago. But the statute of limitations issue is a difficult one because, we are forgiving people. And statute of limitations basically say you're not going to be having that sort of Damocles hanging over you for the rest of your life. But for certain crimes, we do hang that sort of Damocles over you for the rest of your life. And so legislatures should have the power to think hard about how to deal with statute of limitations for horrible crimes like this.
Well, that's what our Illinois Attorney General is asking lawmakers right now to eliminate the statute of limitations for child sex crimes.
I think that's a mistake to eliminate it completely. I think to have a flexible statute of limitations that says it doesn't begin to run until the young man or woman becomes of age or something like that, an intermediate step would make more sense. Look, there are other very, very, very serious crimes that have statutes of limitations, including rape as a statute of limitations. And, if you want to eliminate all statutes of limitations, once you start eliminating some, there are going to be people who come and say, but this is a horrible crime. What about environmental pollution? That's a terrible crime. Let's eliminate the statute of limitations for that. So I think we have to have a serious debate about how to deal with statutes of limitations.
Well, what do you say to people who look at this case and say 15 months for destroying the lives that Denny Hastert destroyed, particularly given the position that he was in? Perhaps he was compromised as a third in line to the President of the United States for the decade he served as House Speaker, incredibly. And they say, well, the sentence he got is insufficient, and it goes again to my cynicism that there are two systems of justice, one for those who have political or financial clout and another for everyone else.
Well, there's no question that there are two systems of justice. There's no question that the poor and the unrepresented don't get the kind of justice that the powerful often get. Sometimes it cuts the other way. Sometimes if you're powerful and influential and the public really, really sees you as a hypocrite, you can get an excess punishment. If this guy had been unknown, if nobody had ever heard of him, and he were being convicted of structuring payments, he probably would have gotten a lower sentence. So it's not clear how fame and power cut in a case like this. What is clear is that what this man is alleged to have done to young people is just beyond excuse. And, one hopes that in a world where there is ultimate justice, he will have to pay a heavier price than he's paid for now. But our legal system is imperfect, and it compromises, and it strikes balances between statutes of limitations and the need to do justice going back years and years and years, particularly when there are cover-ups and there are payoffs, as obviously occurred in this case. It's complicated, unbalanced. I think reasonable people could disagree about whether or not he got a harsher sentence than he deserved or a too harsh sentence. We're going to continue to debate this, and if it affects some changes and some improvements and has people come forward when they are abused like this, that will have served a useful purpose.
And before we let you go, I wanted to ask about a surrender date. I mean, he had Judge Durkin publicly lambasted him for an hour straight, and then he said, well, come back, look at the prisons and decide when you want to surrender. Is that common?
It's fairly common to give some options, particularly for an old person who has illness, and maybe some of his doctors will have to look at the kinds of facilities he gets. Normally, you're given some time to set your matters straight, so that's not unusual. He's not running away anywhere. He's not going to bolt or violate bail, so I think that's usual.
All right, he's Alan Dershowitz, former professor at Harvard Law School, of course, renowned constitutional law scholar. Professor Dershowitz, thanks as always for joining us. Appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you.
And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
You've made the switch, and it feels so good. You've switched to Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
So was it too lenient of a sentence for Denny Hastert? Grab a line, 312-642-5600. First, here's your forecast. Breezy, chilly, rain on and off throughout the day. Just a nasty day out there, a high in the upper 40s. And tomorrow, cool, cloudy in the morning, then clouds and sun in the afternoon, a high of 54. Let's get the travel times. Here's Jim Telemonte.
Thanks, Amy. The inbound Kennedy's heavy from Canfield to the Burns Circle. It's an hour and 5 minutes. O'Hare to downtown, 34 minutes from Montrose, 25 in the Express, and outbound 55 minutes to the airport. Eden's 25 minutes, Lykehook to Montrose, outbound 35. The Eisenhower, an hour and 12 minutes. Thorndale to the post office, 46 minutes from Manheim, outbound 52 to Thorndale. Stevenson, 55 minutes, 3:55 to Lakeshore Drive, outbound 37. The Ryan, 30 minutes, 95th to downtown. Lakeshore Drive, southbound, very slow. Bryn Mawr to North Avenue, it's 40 minutes. Hollywood to Monroe. The northbound Tri-State has delays from the Stevenson to the Hinsdale Oasis and Roosevelt to North Avenue. Veterans Memorial slow from Fountain to the Reagan Tollway and from the Army Trail Toll to 290. I'm Jim Talamonte at the Guardian Security Services Traffic Center.
Because you listen to this show, you know that hundreds of small businesses around the Chicago area trust their IT needs to our friends over at Turnkey IT. So when I needed help with my personal computer, and boy, did I need some help, I picked up the phone and called David, the president of Turnkey IT. Now, without hesitation, David agreed to help, and I had the chance to experience firsthand what Turnkey IT service is really all about. When the technician from Turnkey arrived, he was early, friendly, professional. He transferred all the data from my old PC to my new PC and configured it exactly for my needs. It really was a turnkey solution. Turnkey IT wants to give all the business owners out there listening to AM 560 this great opportunity, so listen up. Turnkey is offering a free network checkup. That's right, even if you already have an IT guy, this free checkup will help you deal with your own IT guy better. And here's my promise to you, whatever IT provider you have now, you will like Turnkey IT better. So visit turnkey.pro today. That's turnkey.pro.
Did you know that if you have mutual funds in your IRA, 401k, or investment accounts, that according to Forbes magazine, you could be paying as much as 3.17% in hidden fees every single year? 3.17% may not sound like much, but over 10 years, it's costing you 32%, whether your fund is up or down. Hi, it's Tom Fortino of the Alpha Wealth Group in Chicago and host of the Alpha Wealth Hour on AM 560. This is just one of the reasons I hate mutual funds, and you should too. You may not know this, but you have far more investment options today without the excessive fees. Learn what they are in my free report, The Truth Behind Mutual Funds. What you learn may shock you. To get your free report, The Truth Behind Mutual Funds, call 630-519-4742. There's no obligation. That's 630-519-4742.
Investment advisory services. Offered through Retirement Wealth Advisors, Inc. Great talent is the driving force behind your successful business. If you don't have the right people in key roles, then you have talent gaps. IMC Solutions identifies those gaps and delivers expertise in recruiting the right talent to fill them, leaving you free to succeed.
Hi, I'm Linda Nichols, founder of IMC Solutions. We're a niche recruiting and staffing firm that specializes in placing human resources and sales professionals. We've created programs that are just right for your small to medium-sized business because we know that you're looking for expertise, but are also looking at the bottom line expenses to your company. You can take advantage of recruiting services that big companies get, but you don't have to pay the big fees. Our programs and solutions are affordable and bring you the people you need.
IMC Solutions understands the unique challenges of your business, making the tough job of hiring easy. Get started on finding your next hire today at imcsolutions.com or call Linda Nichols at 630-637-6200.
AM 560, The Answer.
Dan and Amy talking Hastert. A friend of mine is a criminal defense attorney, Matt Hickey. We've had him on the show before. He noted, as you did, Amy, Durkin in the sentencing noting Denny Hastert's behavior when he was confronted by the FBI, that he tried to set up Individual A and pin it on Individual A, that I'm a victim too, which is also what he was reportedly said to friends.
Which was another lie to the feds.
Correct. And but Hickey noting that that's also a way for Durkin to kind of cover himself in any potential appeal, that he wasn't sentencing for the underlying crime. He was sentencing for the crime for which Hastert pled guilty, and lying to the FBI or misdirecting them was kind of part of the extenuating circumstances in terms of why he imposed a stiffer sentence than prosecutors had recommended. So that's a good legal point as well. But let's take some calls on this. Got a lot of people that want to weigh in, of course. George in Will County, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Good morning, Dan and Amy. Thanks for taking the call. Look, yes, the underlying charge, that's what he should have maxed out on. I believe it should have been longer. I believe there's a maximum on that at 4 or 5 years.
Right.
5 years, yep.
5 years. He should have received that because there's, again, the extenuating circumstances in this is the amount of money that is allegedly that was paid to this other co-conspirator, who, by the way, should also be handcuffed and thrown into jail for keeping all this under wraps.
Well,
why are we going after him as well?
Well, because he's a victim. Well, he's suing.
For the rest of the money.
He's filed a civil suit for the rest of the money that they agreed to as part of what turns out to be basically like a private personal injury settlement, and that was the conclusion of prosecutors. Thanks for the call, George.
And I have a feeling that Denny Hastert's going to go the way of Joe Paterno, that he might pass away before he has to face his surrender date.
All right, AB's opened up Denny Hastert Death Watch. Take your calls and your predictions. Let's put up the tote board. Pick your squares. All right.
Where did that come from?
Chuck in Delavan, Wisconsin.
Yes, I'm Individual D. I'm Chuck from Delavan, and I think that they should bring him up here to the Columbia Correctional Institute, where they brought Dahmer, and give him a mop and broom and let him start cleaning the hallways and see what happens.
Okay, Chuck. Chuck wants to play
vigilante justice. All right.
You've opened the door. Chuck
Yes,
wants to get in on the Denny Hastert Death Watch. It's a gruesome,
I thought my jokes were bad.
Gruesome business. Gruesome things that he did. Tom and Elgin.
Hey, Dan and Amy, thanks a lot for covering this. I wanted to thank Dan for letting me say a couple weeks back that there was rape, legal rape definition. All of our national media is like Dershowitz. I told the screener there that I wanted to say Dershowitz misspoke when he called it an alleged, just seconds ago on your program, he called it an alleged sex crime. So the national media won't use the word rape, but legally, Dan, isn't fellatio on a child rape?
Well, yes. It's termed sexual assault, not sexual abuse. And he did, for the first time, Denny Hastert publicly admitted that he sexually assaulted, not abused, but assaulted, which is rape, kids.
Yeah.
And one for more than 4 years. And one Individual A, he slept overnight with him at motels. I mean, it's just disgusting.
Thanks for the call.
Amy, I appreciate your indignation and hate to this guy, and keep it up because we know that they don't stop.
Nope.
Thanks for the call, Tom. Yeah, I mean, that's
Jerry
the
Sandusky's
issue.
Yep.
And again, Hastert's mea culpa, insufficient. Boys, I mistreated, he said. Mistreated. I don't like euphemisms when we're talking about what we're talking about.
And then he called them his athletes, like they're still his athletes. Like he still owns them. And that's what made me sick, too. You don't own anybody.
Michael in West Dundee.
Yeah, Dan, thanks for taking my call. I think 3 crimes should never have an end date. Murder, drug dealing, and rape. And staying on that same vein, the capital punishment should be in play for each of those crimes if convicted.
Okay. Thank you, Michael. Ron on the South Side.
Dan, I agree with you. He didn't mistreat them. He abused them, and he scum. And Amy, as far as your prediction, I sure hope you're right. Actually, today would make me happy. The last thing before I go, it is something terribly wrong with this criminal justice system. I have no use for Rob Blagojevich, but when somebody tried to sell a political seat and gets 15 years, and this scumbag gets 14 months, something's wrong with the criminal justice system. Have a good day.
Thanks, Ron.
Connect with Dan and Amy using the AM560 mobile app. Download it today at 560theanswer.com/mobile.
You know the name Barbara Walters. Now remember the company, Ameritrust Mortgage.
Ameritrust Mortgage was formed along with a talented professional staff that makes your mortgage process easy, swift, and cost-efficient for you, the home buyer, and for those who refinance. Ameritrust is all-inclusive, start to finish, the way lending should be. At Ameritrust, we believe it has been our privilege to have helped thousands of people over 30 years with purchasing or refinancing their home. We are here to help. Let us customize a loan program for your specific needs, FHA, VA, or conventional. At Ameritrust, the responsibility belongs to me. It's my name on the door. I am the president. I am Barbara Walters. Call Ameritrust now, 815-459-7303. Again, that number is 815-459-7303. Or visit us at am560myhome.com.
Ameritrust Mortgage is an equal housing lender. Illinois Residential Mortgage Licensee number 720. NMLS number 217229.
Imagine your life 5 years from now. Are you on the path you want to be on? It's time to take control of your future by getting a world-class education from one of the nation's top universities. Arizona State University is now offering over 100 top-tier degree programs 100% online. It's the exact same degree our on-campus students receive, but you can learn from anywhere in the country on your own schedule. For information, call 1-800-577-2026. Learn from ASU's world-renowned faculty and use ASU's global recognition to improve your visibility, professional network, and gain real-world experience you can start using today. The Wall Street Journal ranked ASU 5th in the nation for producing the best qualified graduates. Now discover how ASU Online can stand out on your resume and help separate you from the competition. We're ready to help you learn to thrive in your life, in your career, and beyond. To learn more about ASU online degrees, call 1-800-577-2026. That's 1-800-577-2026.
Coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
I agree with the caller. At least we should have more flexibility on the SOL, the statute of limitations, until the predator is SOL. You know what I mean?
And speaking of that, a text message from 773. I hope he kicks too, Amy. I'm with you.
You open the Deadpool. All right, coming up at 8:38, Cruz and Carly combine forces. Want to hear from Hoosiers, see if that changes their mind. Want to hear from Trump supporters, see if that changes their mind. Can Cruz's addition of Carly propel him to victory in Indiana? And at the convention, we'll take your calls.
And a new Ronald Reagan film called Reagan. Oh, the premise is making him roll over in his grave. We'll explain. But first, into the newsroom we go. Here is Mike Scott.
Amy and Dan, good morning. 45 degrees, cloudy skies. The International Committee of the Red Cross warning that the northern Syrian city of Aleppo is on the brink of humanitarian disaster. As the result of renewed fighting in the past 24 hours, 61 have been killed. Republican presidential frontrunner Donald Trump dismissing rival Ted Cruz's selection of a vice presidential running mate.
Well, I think it's really a waste of time, honestly. I think
Cruz picked former Hewlett-Packard CEO Carly Fiorina as his running mate if he wins the GOP nomination. Cruz is hoping to do well in the Indiana primary May 3rd. Economically this morning, the U.S. economy has started 2016 with the weakest growth in 2 years. Meantime, the weekly jobless numbers are out. Labor Department reports 257,000 people filed first-time claims for unemployment benefits. An outbreak of mumps at Eastern Illinois University impacting about a dozen students. The outbreak began around April 11. Thousands of NFL fans flooding into the streets of Chicago today for the NFL Draft Round 1 in Grant Park. Former U.S. House Speaker Dennis Hastert sentenced Wednesday to 15 months in prison for breaking federal banking rules in a scheme to cover up sexual abuse. The banking charge is part of a broader allegation the former House Speaker molested at least 4 former students when he was a teacher and wrestling coach in Yorkville. Final exams could be canceled for Chicago public school students if teachers go on strike in late May. Finals are planned for the week of June 13. And a safe haven baby box where mothers can drop off unwanted newborns anonymously with emergency help moments away is now available in Indiana. The padded climate-controlled container was dedicated at the Woodburn Volunteer Fire Department near Fort Wayne. A second one will be dedicated later today in the northwest Indiana community of Michigan City. White Sox beat Toronto 4-0. Milwaukee and the Cubs scrubbed because of rain. The news service of Unbound. There's a girl in El Salvador who dreams of becoming an engineer, and elder in Uganda who dreams of having a community to call his own. No two dreams are the same. Help one person achieve theirs at unbound.org. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Mike Gallagher tells you who he voted for in the New York primary.
I voted for the Republican that I feel will be the most qualified to lead this country out of the darkness of 8 years of Barack Obama, who's best poised to beat the Hillary machine, can inspire, enlighten, and lead this country. That's the Republican I voted for.
The Mike Gallagher Show. Weekdays at 9, right before Dennis Prager at 11 on AM 560. The Answer.
Listen to AM 560 on your mobile device. Now available on iHeartRadio. Online at iHeartRadio.com.
The following is a paid political announcement.
They're made, bought, and we pay the price. Sellout politicians like Congressman Todd Young. Special interests and Mitch McConnell have spent $1 million buying Young a promotion to the Senate. He owes them, not us. Young does as he's told. He voted to raise the debt limit over $2 trillion and voted to fund Obamacare and Obama's amnesty plan. Say no to Congressman Young. We don't need another sellout in Washington. When did Republicans lose their backbone, their guts, their conviction? Some will say they stood up to Obama. That's easy. But who stood up to their own party? That's Marlin Stutzman. Marlin voted against John Boehner, fought sweetheart deals on both sides, and even wrote his own federal budget that actually balances. Marlin knows when Republicans bend, America breaks. Stand strong, Marlin. Conservative Marlin Stutzman for Senate.
I'm Marlin Stutzman, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Stutzman for Senate.
8:37 in our Guardian Security Services Traffic Center. Here is Jim Talamonte.
Thanks, Mike. Eden's outbound at Skokie Road. There's a crash in the left lane. It's 35 minutes. Montrose to Lake Cook. Inbound is 21. Kennedy, an hour and 5 minutes. O'Hare to downtown. Outbound 45 minutes. The Eisenhower, an hour and 10 minutes from Thorndale to the post office. Outbound an hour and 3 minutes. Stoll at Des Avenue in the left lane. Stevenson, 50 minutes. 355 to Lakeshore Drive. Outbound now fine. The Ryan is 30 minutes. 95th to downtown. Southbound Lakeshore Drive. Big delays. Bryn Mawr to North Avenue. And it's slow 18th to the Stevenson. Northbound from the Stevenson to Jackson. Northbound Tri-State, stop and go from the Stevenson to the Hinsdale Oasis. Roosevelt to North Avenue. Spot Adams Tollway, a little slow. Roselle to 53. Veterans Memorial, so 75th to the Reagan Tollway and Lake Street to 290. Traffic answers when you need them most. I'm Jim Talamonte, AM 560, The Answer.
Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. Your official Chicagoland weather forecast from the aircomfort.com Weather Center. Breezy, chilly, occasional rain and drizzle today with a high of 49. It's 45 at O'Hare. Next news at 9. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by North States Steel, building America with products made in the USA. Visit northstatessteel.com.
If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Dan and Amy, a couple of housekeeping items.
Yes.
Fundraiser for Senator John McCain, apparently arrested along with her boyfriend or husband for running a meth lab out of their place.
Oh.
Didn't know that Walter White was a fundraiser for John McCain. That's not going to help his reelection bid. And also, you, in addition to launching the Deadpool on Denny Haster, we've got the tote board up. You want to call in, make your predictions. Amy's feeling a bit macabre this morning.
He's going to go the way of Joe Paterno, and he's going to
Kenneth
die.
Lay.
Yes, there you go. Another example. And you're such an upper. You got to up me.
Yeah, exactly. I'll see your Penn State and raise you an Enron.
And I have a feeling that he's going to die before his surrender date.
Well,
because guilt is a terrible thing, and to keep something inside for decades and decades and hide it from your wife and your children. Because yesterday, during his sentencing, he did say that he apologized to his wife and to his two sons and to the people of Yorkville for what pain he has caused them.
I was waiting for you, though, because he was wheeled in, not like Hannibal Lecter, but in a standard wheelchair. I was waiting for you to pull a Brady Bunch and like drop a pen and say, "Oh, Speaker Hester, could you pick that up for me?" Do the gotcha moment, like when they throw the suitcase with the guy who has a neck collar on for alleging whiplash.
That's right. Yeah,
that
right
would have
after
been a
the
great
car
moment.
accident in the parking lot. Yeah, and then when he stood up, at the lectern to speak, I was going to yank the wheelchair out and say, like, "You see, he doesn't really need this. This is just for show, so you feel sorry for him and give him a more lenient sentence."
And then he could say, "Miracle, I'm cured," and we could have turned something gruesome into a sitcom.
Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, that didn't happen.
But we had to laugh about it, so we didn't cry. It was really just a crazy, crazy thing to witness, and it was emotional. And God bless Scott Cross. I mean, really, and his brother and his family for being there for him and being so supportive. It was amazing because he really hit it home when he said exactly what he did to him, but then also too bringing up the recliner story and how he sat there and he was in a power position just to prey on these children who trusted him. He was like a father figure.
Well, let's switch gears and talk a little bit presidential politics, because that was one of the other big stories yesterday. Cruz announcing Carly Fiorina as his running mate.
Cruz and Carly.
Sitting in a tree 5 days before the Indiana primary. And Fiorina was so happy to join the team. She had a bit
How
of
happy was she?
Bit of a song in her heart.
I know two girls that I just adore. I'm so happy I can see them more. 'Cause we travel on the bus all day. We get to play. We get to play. I won't bore you with any more of this.
Was a nice little lullaby that she wrote for Ted Cruz's children, and the girls' names are?
Peyton and Eli.
Carolyn and Catherine.
Oh, right.
His daughters. And I thought it was really sweet. It was, showed the mom side of her, the caring side of her.
Yeah, and apparently the families are getting along very well. Carly and Ted, I think, come from a very similar philosophical position. And I know that Trump supporters are discounting this, but if you look at it objectively, the most intellectual firepower and two of the most able and tenacious conservative thought leaders, best 1-2 punch we've ever seen as a potential Republican ticket, at least in my lifetime.
It's a class act. I will give you that. I hope that they're effective. I hope that they're successful. And I think Donald Trump is maybe having a little buyer's remorse. I think he's remorseful that he didn't grab Carly Fiorina before Ted did.
I'm not sure that she was there for him to grab, though.
I don't know, but I honestly thought that he would seriously consider her as a running mate.
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line, 64636DA, turnkey.pro text line. Do you think the addition of Carly changes the nature of this race? Or are you, even if you're not a Trump supporter, are you kind of in the position, Sean Trendy had a piece from RealClearPolitics.com today, you're in the position of, look, I think Trump's a presumptive nominee. I'm not enthralled with Cruz, or maybe I'm a little bit more enthralled with the addition of Fiorina, but I kind of just want it to be over. And that's part of the inertia that is propelling Trump. I either think it's over, I want it to be over, I don't like the alternative to Trump so much more that I'm compelled to meaningfully participate. It's kind of a question. That seems to be why Trump exceeded the projections for where he would finish in terms of the victory percentages in the 5 states on Tuesday. And as Trendy notes in his piece, why you've seen Cruz and Kasich's share of the vote decline a bit. A problem going to Indiana that obviously Ted Cruz hopes to reverse with the addition of Carly. Sean in Elmwood Park, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Listen, Donald Trump is a demigod of people who feel they've been wronged by the system, and they're looking for a champion, and he's going to do it. But if you are someone who loves capitalism, who loves liberty, who understands what America really is, that it's an idea where we're all equal and we all have the same opportunity. This is a dream team for you. This is my dream team. But if you're somebody who doesn't care about the fact that our system has been corrupted by people who pay politicians, and the very scum politicians like Rahm Emanuel and Nancy Pelosi and Harry Reid and Mitch McConnell, for that matter, all of whom are on Donald Trump's not only Rolodex but speed dial, then you're not going to be fazed by this. Just like you weren't fazed by him giving $25,000 to the DA in Florida. See, I live in Florida half the year. That's a big story down there. It catches no traction. So I am, to a certain extent, like those people I kind of want it to be over, too. And let's Thelma and Louise this son of a gun right over the cliff, because Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton have more in common than just sitting down when they urinate. They're both Sabian socialists, and they'll both do the same exact thing. And all the people who produce and want things and enjoy property, we're all going to pay the toll just again. Because for 35 years, Donald Trump preaches high taxes, high spending, and the collective select few of the billionaires' boys club making the decision for all of us. So you can take Roger Stone and Black and jump off a cliff with them.
Thanks for the call, Sean. Text from 708. Fiorina isn't a mom, AJ. She never had any children, 0.
Oh, no, one of her sons died from an overdose.
And she's got stepchildren.
Right.
And so she was a mother to stepchildren. Is there anything wrong with that, 708?
And she raised those kids. I mean, she wasn't just watching them grow up. She helped raise them and shape them.
And wouldn't you like to hear Carly Fiorina in a debate with whatever left-wing apparatchik Hillary Clinton nominates to run with her? Offer rhetorical flourishes like this one?
I'm not a political insider. I haven't spent my lifetime running for office. The truth is, I've had and been blessed by a lot of opportunities to do a lot of things in my life. And unlike another woman in this race, I actually love spending time with my husband.
Honestly, I mean, she's a credible outsider. Ted's the insider. She's the outsider. She's poised. She's graceful. She's smart. And she's not afraid of taking on Donald Trump. So she's breathing new air into this campaign. And I like the Cruz and Carly. It's good. And I hope that they're successful. And she might help him out in California. I mean, she did run against Barbara Boxer. She lost by, 10 points? But people know her there. They're familiar with her. And she might help to get delegates for Ted Cruz.
I think that's right. And here's the other thing that Fiorina brings. She is the best, bar none, certainly in this cycle of Republican presidential aspirants, of framing issues. And she framed the choice for Hoosier Republican primary voters come Tuesday, I thought, very nicely.
You see what we have? Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton, they are two sides of the same coin. They're both liberal, we know that. But, Hillary Clinton, like so many politicians, Hillary Clinton has made her millions selling access and influence from inside the system. And Donald Trump has made his billions buying people like Hillary Clinton. They are not going to challenge the system that has sold us all down the river. They're not going to challenge the elites. They're not going to challenge the crony capitalists. They're not going to challenge the Washington insiders. They're not going to challenge the lobbyists. My gosh, their campaign is filled with them. No, they're not going to challenge the system. They are the system.
Hear about the big stories of the day, then talk about them right here on Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Coming up, a new film called Reagan, the stars and the reason why. But first, here's your forecast. It's going to be breezy, chilly. We're going to have rain on and off throughout the day. We'll get sporadic breaks from time to time. That's the name of a band, Sporadic Breaks. High in the upper 40s. Tonight into the 30s we go. Yuck. And then tomorrow, a little bit better. Friday, Dan Proft's birthday and Arbor Day. It's going to be cool. Cloudy in the morning. Then
in that order of importance.
Exactly. Then some sunshine by the afternoon. A high of 54. Travel times, how's the inbound Kennedy?
Amy, it's not a whole lot of fun. It's really slow from Nagel to the Burns Circle. It's an hour from O'Hare to downtown, 36 minutes from Montrose, 33 on the Express. Outbound 45 minutes from downtown to O'Hare. Eden's 21 minutes Lake Cook to the junction. Outbound 35 with a crash at Skokie Road in the left lane. The Eisenhower is an hour and 10 minutes from Thorndale to the Loop. 46 minutes from Manheim. Outbound 45 minutes to Manheim. An hour and 3 minutes to Thorndale. Stevenson 50 minutes, 355 to Lakeshore Drive. Outbound now fine. Ryan is 30 minutes, 95th to downtown. Report of a stalled school bus at 75th blocking a center lane. Lakeshore Drive still really heavy southbound Bryn Mawr to North Avenue and 18th to the Stevenson. Northbound from the Stevenson to Jackson. Tollways are getting better. Still slow on the northbound Tri-State from the Stevenson to the Hinsdale Oasis and Roosevelt to North Avenue. Jim Talamonte, the Guardian Security Services Traffic Center.
Hi, I'm Lex Howard, CEO of Balance of Nature. Statistics show that most people will listen to this commercial 7 times before they finally purchase Balance of Nature. Don't be a statistic. Take action to determine your future.
I just have to tell you, I love Balance of Nature. I've been telling everybody about it. I can't believe how good I feel. Got my husband taking them now, and he's trying to get his mom to take them, because rarely do I take something where I feel a difference. If I'm just taking vitamin D or my multivitamin, I don't really feel a difference. But when I started taking these, I feel a difference. And like I said, I can't tell you how good I feel.
Begin giving your body the fruits and vegetables it needs every day. Accept and complete Dr. Howard's 120-day health challenge to earn a free month supply of Balance of Nature. Call 1-800-2468-751. That's 1-800-2468-751. Or go online to balanceofnature.com. Use promo code CHICAGO.
Hey, we want to say thanks to dozens of business benefactors that stepped up to become business benefactors for our annual golf outing on June 16th at Bolingbrook Golf Club. This year's outing benefits Operation Support Our Troops America and the great work that they do for your military members, their families, and our returning vets. Now, if you own or run a business or make marketing decisions for your business, well, guess what? You're in luck. We had a few slots open up for you to become a business benefactor. Here's the deal. Purchase a foursome for $996. And in turn, we'll give you $3,000 worth of advertising in the form of 25 one-minute commercials that will air primetime Monday through Friday here on AM 560. These opportunities are extremely limited, so call Michael Mann right now. He's waiting for your call. His number is 847-871-1527, 847-871-1527, and tell him that you want to become a business benefactor. 847-871-1527 or go to 560theanswer.com/golf.
I'm Dan Proft with an Upstream Idea brought to you by the Illinois Opportunity Project. 27. Illinois state employees, on average, receive total compensation 27% higher than their private sector counterparts. State employees made nearly $4,000 more in wages and $13,000 in benefits than private sector employees. More than half of state workers will retire before the age of 60 with a guaranteed state pension. The state is in a financial death spiral with ground impact imminent, so keep this in mind as Governor Bruce Rauner breaks off contract talks with AFSCME, the state's largest public sector union. AFSCME has been unwilling to give on its demands for annual step increases of 3.8%, in addition to annual general wage increases. The lowball estimate of the cost of what AFSCME demands is $1.6 billion. That's $1.6 billion more from Illinois families who already pay the highest property taxes in the nation. This is Governor Rauner's moment of truth. He ran for office saying he is not a politician. He said he is a businessman who will make the difficult decisions to turn around the state he loves. We're about to find out if that's true. For more Upstream ideas, visit upstream-ideas.com. I'm Dan Proft.
Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues now. And make sure to stay tuned to catch me, Mike Gallagher, coming up at 9, only on AM 560, The Answer.
You know, I don't like when comedians portray people that I respect and love. For instance, Will Ferrell has been signed up to play Ronald Reagan in the new film Reagan.
Uh-huh.
And what it is, it's set in the end of 1984, and it follows, they claim, the onset of Alzheimer's for Ronald Reagan. Now, this is 1984.
Nothing's funnier than Alzheimer's.
Yeah, I mean, really, it's really funny. So it focuses on an intern whose sole role was to convince the actor turned politician that he's playing the president in a movie. Got that? So that's what the whole premise of the film is. It doesn't say if it's going to be a comedy or a serious film, but I think that Will Ferrell should just stick to comedy, and I really think he should get that dart out of his neck.
No, from a ow! Oh! Yes! That's awesome! What? You just took one in the jugular, man! Whoa! Yes! Oh my god! Oh my god, I did! Is this bad? Is this bad? You should pull that out.
Wait. Pull what out? The dart, man.
Yeah, it's nice to recall the last time Will Ferrell was funny, old school. How many years ago was that?
I know.
And Will Ferrell were playing the same character over and over again. It's funny. Of course, the left wants to undermine Reagan because he becomes more and more important in American history as he recedes further and further back in American history, the importance of his presidency and comparing what a giant he was compared to frankly all of the presidents since and most of them before. And the whole narrative that he was, the lights were out in his second term. Well, we've talked to Fred Barnes about that.
Yeah, remind me what Fred Barnes said.
He interviewed him in 1987.
And how was he? His faculties were there, right?
So giving lie to Bill O'Reilly, his ridiculous book, Killing Reagan, in addition to, left-wing hack comedians or comedic actors like Will Ferrell, that Reagan could not have been more astute and alert, knowledgeable on the issues. They were not just on the issues in terms of intricate knowledge when Barnes interviewed him in the Oval Office in 87, but also they talked movies. And Reagan was going back 50 years into Hollywood and reciting casts from all of his favorite movies, the movies he was involved in, and just talking about cinema in general. So it's,
Hollywood has a gross exaggeration of the truth sometimes.
Well, Hollywood has an agenda. They had an agenda when they were trying to rewrite history about the Dan Rather story, rewrite history about W, now rewrite history about Reagan. It's just a call for conservatives to enter the arts and, like Dinesh D'Souza and a handful of others, produce some responsible material for pop culture consumption.
Is this on? Mr. Green, did you turn on my microphone? You asked for me if you would... I am paying for this microphone, Mr. Green.
It's news, opinion, insight. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Now that spring has arrived, it's likely you're looking forward to the warmer weather. But if you're a business owner, facilities manager, or maintenance engineer, you risk the same potential problem every year. A complete system failure. In fact, up to half of all commercial air conditioning units fail upon start.